it's good. All the startup stuff. Okay, I think it's all good. I think it's all set up.
Awesome.
Just make sure it's absolutely working, so it's showing thing. We don't want things breaking on our return.
Yeah, breaking's always fun.
Breaking is always fun, except when it's not. All right, it looks like everything is good to go. I'm going to mute that, start that up. Absolutely. Oh, working. Of course.
There we go.
Of course. Something has to break. I'm getting echo on my end. Where is this thing?
That is awesome.
There's all. I found it. It's on my dashboard. Nope. It's not on it. It's not. Where is this thing? Where is this?
Are you sure?
Something has.
So you don't have like another tab open to it?
I'm getting echo on my.
Because I've done that before.
Where is this thing? I apologize, everyone, for the echo. Something is. I found it. No. It's on my dashboard. Damn it.
We'll fix it.
It's not. It's like infinite echo. Where is this thing?
Right.
Where is
Are you
this?
sure?
Something has.
I have yours muted because I can't tell, but let me see. I'm gonna try this. I've done that before. Yeah, it is a little.
I apologize,
terrible.
everyone, for the echo. I found it. I found it. I got it. I found it. We're good.
Okay, cool.
We're good. Everything breaking on a return
okay.
episode. It's been a long enough break. That's what
It has.
It's been long enough.
I'm sad, but I think the biggest reason why we've done that is because we haven't heard much news.
Yeah. All right. So let's start that over with a bit of a better intro. Welcome everyone. Shin-Arken podcast is back. The great return. I'm Shin. We got Arken here. What's up, Arken?
What's up, dude? How are you?
It's going good. It's been a while since we've done this. Since we've
It's been over a couple months at least.
Yeah, it's been. When did we last do an episode? Honestly,
I would say honestly close to 6 months. Because again, there really was no new information to go off of.
I feel like it's been closer to like a year or so. Like
you might be right.
Something really long ago. All right, there's the window. I have a whole bunch of windows that are just all over the place.
Right.
And the Guild Wars 2 channels thing's been playing the entire time.
There you go.
Let's just add more breaking things to the mix. So, for those who are wondering what this is all about, this is a podcast where Ark and I basically go back and forth about things that have been going on news-wise for Guild Wars 2, just our thoughts on things. What we were doing before is we were kind of going over each class and going and talking about like what we thought of them versus just various impressions of various things. We didn't really have a whole lot of news back then, so we eventually decided to just kind of put the cast on hiatus and then roll from there. But we've got a bunch of news. We have a ridiculous amount of news.
A stupid amount.
Just a stupid amount. I don't know if we're going to fit into... There's no way we're going to fit this in an hour. So I figure, like, this one we could probably do... What do you think? Specializations?
Let's do that.
Those are the brand new ones. We'll knock those out first, and then we can use future episodes to talk about more general Heart of Thorn stuff, and just kind of all the stuff we've learned and what our impressions and whatnot of that stuff is, words, and will be, and all that fun stuff. So I think what we'll do is we'll go with the flow of the official cast, the official reveal of all this stuff, and we'll start with Guardian first, and we'll just jump into what we each think of that stuff. And Arken can start us off with this. I'll have the footage in the background of the reveals and when they were going over it. Just a quick note: the stuff here the stuff in the VOD, in the video, whatever, is not going to be matched up with what we're talking about. We're pretty much just going to go with the flow of what Arken's thoughts are and my thoughts and whatnot. So that's going to be that, and then we'll switch over to the Warrior stuff when I jump over to mine. So take it away, Arken. What do we got?
All right, so I got this open on the side of my screen, so I kind of see the deal. They made, from what I can tell, every single profession has gotten buffs, regardless of what it is, whether it be merges of traits, from useless traits on top of useful ones that made them really strong, or they just completely got rid of some of the traits in general and changed them entirely. So as the Guardian traits, based on the baseline, consecrations are now baseline AoEs. So you can target them anywhere, which is kind of nice. I honestly didn't think this was a necessary change. It's a nice little change. It feels like more of a quality of life thing, but I have no issue with it. So nice little change there. It's essentially the same thing with like Necro Wells now. That also being baseline ground targeted. So nice little change. Second thing is Glacial Heart was removed and changed to it's one of the hammer's traits.
Yeah, they gave
in
you
virtues.
like they gave you like slow, didn't they?
They did, and I actually found this to be a pretty hefty nerf. And the biggest reason is one, chill or Glacial Heart was an AOE chill, that also did a little bit of burst damage. Whereas it looks like this one is a single target slow that will probably do no damage. So that's I know they keep going back and forth with the whole theme of every class, and I get that, but it just feels like a pretty hefty nerf to Guardian soft CC. So now, well, that's actually the only soft CC we have.
Yeah.
As far as actually, I take that back. If you actually go into Tome of Wrath, I think it's Tome of Wrath. It's weird, no one uses it. If you use the number 2, the number 2 actually has a cripple. Surprisingly, right? It does.
Yeah.
It's weird. That is the only time you'll ever get it, but that's here, neither here nor there. So I was very surprised to see the change to Glacial Heart, or actually the removal. So a little sad on that.
Well, one thing I can mention though on that is did you have any chance to see how slow works yet? Have you messed around with like say in the stress test or the stronghold? Well, it couldn't have been the stronghold beta, but have you had any chance to really interact with slow in the game yet?
I have no idea what it does. It seems like just another version of chill. No, or am I missing
actually,
it completely?
It's actually a lot more powerful than you might think. Okay, so for yourself and anyone else listening who doesn't know how slow works, what it does is, okay, with chill, it increases the the cooldown time of a skill, and it slows people down. Well, what slow does is it won't affect the skill cooldowns. It'll actually affect the animations. It's the exact opposite of quickness. So you're going to be running around slower, and you're going to be doing things slower. This drove me nuts when I was doing the stress test. When you go to stomp someone, if you go to stomp a revenant, for example, right now they have slow on their downed auto attack.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am absolutely serious about this. When you go and they start hitting you with that auto attack while they're down, your slow animation is it takes twice as long, and it's just agonizing how long it takes to stomp someone.
Wow.
Yeah, I honestly I can see why they would have changed it out, why they would have changed Glacial Heart out for this new one.
Right.
But slow it's powerful. I mean,
now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah, you come in and you hit someone with a slow. That's what it does right now. It's actually pretty big. So
is it?
yeah.
Enough.
So I have a feeling that it's once you actually get your hands on it, once you actually get a chance to try out slow with this new version of Glacial Heart, I think you might actually like it. I mean, it's
probably.
It's slow is interesting. Slow is a good way to just absolutely frustrate people.
Of course. I think. I guess because that's the biggest thing is I've never tried it, and that seems to be the thing. And now I'm not sure this is probably going to be OP, but remember the Glacial Heart was also an AOE chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
An AOE chill. So I'm not sure if giving an AOE slow would be too good. In replacement of that, I don't know. Well, you would know better than me.
Well, I mean, it is a master trait right now, so
yes.
It's it could be AoE. I would imagine that. Well, it could have been that they figured Glacial Heart was too OP, having it being AoE, and maybe that's the reason. I don't know.
It's interesting you say that because, and this is just to go off a little bit of a tangent here, is that I actually kept hearing from the developers that no one ever used that trait, Glacial Heart, and it was weird because the tournament, one of the Guardians that won on EU used that trait, so it was a little weird to see, but that's neither here nor there. So I really appreciate you actually clearing that up for me with slow. So it might not actually be a nerf overall. I'm just curious. So
yeah,
that's cool. Elite duration has increased. The elite duration is now made baseline. So what that did, or what it does now, is it increases the duration of your elite by 50%. So with tomes, it'll last 30 seconds instead of 20, and with renewed focus, it'll be a 3-second invul instead of a 2. So that's a baseline. That's actually a really, really nice change, I gotta say. So no issues there. and then we can go right into the traits. I'm just going to kind of go over this really quickly, and you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Zealot speed. I don't know why this thing is still named Zealot speed. It doesn't give you any speed. It's still the same thing as it was. I was kind of hoping this would be something where it gives you swiftness, but I mean, it is what it is.
But what does it do now as opposed to before?
What it now is, once you reach the threshold of 50% health, you drop a symbol of Wrath, which gives you retaliation and damages your opponent, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, it is what it is, but I was kind of hoping it would be actual speed, but...
well, I mean, one thing we should probably mention is this is all still in really heavy development, so they could very easily change the names, they could change functionalities, numbers, anything on this entire thing. So, I mean, that's all... any number of things could happen. So I could see them changing it, honestly.
Absolutely. Now, symbolic exposure, symbols grant vulnerability. That hasn't changed. That seems to be okay. And they actually buff symbolic power, which it's what it does now is it increases your symbols by 10%. But this also made it to where you have a chance to burn your foes as well. So nice little buff. No issues there. So let's jump right into the adepts. Wrathful Spirit. No change there, where you get retaliation upon Aegis ending. That's still competing against Fiery Wrath and a new trait called Zealous Scepter, where anytime your passive activates from Justice, you get Might. I still think Fiery Wrath is the best option out of the three, being a flat damage bonus against burning targets. So I kind of think the other two need to be looked at personally to even compete with it.
Yeah, but this is coming from a PvP perspective, right?
Yes, the purely PvP, absolutely. And
okay.
This is, but again, it's a 10% flat damage bonus versus, say, retaliation for 3 seconds versus something you'll get might every so often. Doesn't seem very strong in comparison. So, I see myself sticking with Fiery Wrath. I'm not going to change unless the other two get something altered. I'm not too sure, but it's just my opinion. They're good changes, but I still don't think they're good enough to compete with that one.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Like, there were a few for Warrior where it's also kind of these are neat, but there's this one option that would make the most sense type thing. So, right. I hear you on that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, again, that's across all professions where, yes, they buffed 2 of the other ones, but the one you originally took is still better.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they still take that into consideration. So, let's go to the Masters. You have Binding Jeopardy. This one, I believe, hasn't changed, if I remember. Oh, yeah, it did change. They buffed it.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're the Guardian expert, not me.
Well, I don't use Zeal. Zeal is actually our worst trait line, so it's something that I wish I did use. So they buffed it a little bit. What it does now is... Actually, no, they didn't. It's more of an adjustment. So you give vulnerability anytime you blind or immobilize a target. Versus, say, Zealous Blade, which, again, in my opinion, is still a very weak trait due to the fact that it still gives you a minor damage bonus. It only heals you for 26 a hit. And then, of course, Kindled Zeal got dropped down from a Grandmaster to a Master. So, again, this goes back to the previous one where I don't see Zealous Blade or Binding Jeopardy competing with Kindled Zeal on any level. They're still relatively weak in comparison from my perspective. So,
what if they were to, say, buff the healing amount on the one that gives you a heal per hit alongside the other ones? Because I remember them saying during the reveal when they were doing Guardian, they were talking about how, it hits multiple targets and stuff like that. So what if they were to, say, up those numbers a bit?
That's the thing, is that the reason why they would have to up it significantly is because, one, it's tied to one weapon. So as soon as I swap out, it's useless. And two... It's not like, say, Signet of Restoration where I can cast it regardless if I'm hitting or not. So I still don't see... The numbers would have to be pretty significant for me to even want to consider taking that. Because, again, like I said, being tied to one weapon and making it only work when you hit something is still kind of a hindrance. So, again, right now, I'm still going to probably take Kindled Zeal. I mean, conversion traits are awesome, and that's a pretty massive one when you go from power to Condi damage. So that's and then we'll go to Grandmasters. So they melded all the spirit weapon traits into one.
That's right. Yep,
all of them.
I remember that.
I hate AI. Not going to touch it. Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, you've always been like, oh, AI, bleh.
Dude, I hate it. It sucks. Ugh.
How
You
about
know
them?
what's gonna suck? What's
How
up?
about them turret edges?
Oh, dude, I cannot wait for the changes. Oh my goodness for that. That's gonna be great. But AI is even if they were to make AI good, I still wouldn't like it because it doesn't feel like If it doesn't feel like that if I won, that I actually did win. It feels like
the
that
game's
part of
playing
it-
itself.
Exactly, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna skip that one. They put Shattered Aegis from an adept to a grandmaster. This one I'm very surprised about because no one took it as an adept. And while they did up the damage on the GM aspect of it, it's still not that good. Because right now, Shattered Aegis, what it does is it deals about 300 damage base, I think, anytime Aegis is removed. Problem with that, and they only upped it up to 600 about. So, it still seems very, very weak. And in comparison to the new trait which they introduced, which I plan on taking, Symbolic Avenger, which looks pretty nice. The one where you deal more damage to enemies standing in your symbols. Now, this one has gotten a little bit of I can't think of the term I'm looking for. A little bit of hatred on the forums because of the damage bonus. And while I do see it is a pretty hefty one, my defense is this. One, the only time I'm sorry?
I was gonna say they have to stand in it first off.
Yeah. And against any sort of competent opponent, you're never going to keep anybody in a symbol for more than a second.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's a good damage bonus, but the thing is keeping someone in a symbol, especially when symbols don't even slow you. They don't. It's a nice bonus, and this is definitely going to be part of my DPS build, but I don't think it's over the top. So again, that compared to the other two don't even match up. They seem very weak in comparison. So that's Zeal.
I have an idea real quick
What's
just
up?
for the just for anyone who happens to be watching on the stream or the video later. I think what I'll actually do is I'll actually pull up the all of the traits that have been posted on Reddit, so that way people have the benefit of seeing what we're talking about.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah,
Seeing like which line we're talking about as we do it, that actually makes a lot of sense. You're smart.
Yeah.
This is why you get paid the big bucks.
I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I don't know
know.
why either of us didn't think of this before. And then,
I'm an idiot.
Words are hard. Words are super hard for me.
It's really on the first page, isn't it?
Yeah, I got it back up. We were on. You just finished with Zeal.
Yeah, we just finished Zeal. We're gonna go in Radiance.
Okay, jumping over. There's Radiance. All right. I think we got a better setup now.
That actually makes a lot more sense. Now you can see it for yourself.
Yep. I mean, it's not going to be pretty moving things, but
But the thing is, that's not what it's about. So it's
Yeah.
all good. All right. So minors. Justice is blind. That didn't change. That seems like a fine one. Now this renewed justice. This is the problem that I have with all killing traits and all traits upon revival. They, in my opinion, are completely useless during combat. I mean, obviously, I'm talking from an SPVP standpoint, but in combat, these are completely useless. They need to have some added. No, I'm talking about all of them across all professions who have something like this. They need to have some added effect onto them because right now that is a useless trait while I'm in combat. It gives me no benefit whatsoever. So I'm just saying across all professions, I hope they look at that and then maybe add something onto it. I don't know. What do you think?
Jumping in here, I remember when they were doing the reveal, they were talking about how like they were trying to phase those out of a lot of professions, but they for some reason decided to keep it in for Guardian. That struck me as, again, kind of like what you were saying, like a why. Like it doesn't. Yeah, you kill people in matches, but not often enough to really get a whole lot of use out of it. And like, what's to say you're going to be killing people at all? Like, say you're running around decapping things. Like,
Right.
what? Yeah, you're exactly right. You're not getting any benefit out of this if you're not in combat with things.
Exactly. So again, I'm hoping they can completely change it for all. It just seems again completely useless as it stands. So,
but we do need to keep in mind that these are supposed to apply to everything. These aren't just PvP. These are also PvE, World v World,
of
dungeons.
course.
So like it may not work well for one mode, but it could work very well for say leveling or open world
Of
PvE
course.
or dungeons.
Absolutely. It probably works great for PvE. Again, I'm just strictly speaking as PvP, so that's kind of again. So now Radiant Power, they changed this one. This used to be, or this is now, where you do 10% more damage to foes who have any sort of condition on them. Anyone. They changed this to 25% increased crit chance against the target who has burning. I gotta say, this is a buff. Yeah. Oh yeah. That is a pretty. You could essentially spec tanky and take this and have still have a really good crit chance on top of some of the traits we're about to talk about. So that is a pretty hefty buff, I have to say.
Yeah, that's a nice chunk of crit that you don't have to worry about building for precision.
Not at all, dude. You could essentially go all soldiers. I'm not even joking, and still have the same crit you would have otherwise gotten if you took Berserker.
Well, like that plus Fury, you're already at 45%.
That's it. And then, of course, again, with the trait we're about to talk about, we're going to go into depth. Right-handed strength, you're now at 55%.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's essentially, it's an interesting change. So, all right, let's look at the adepts. Healer's Retribution. A very, very weak trait in comparison to the bottom two, in my opinion. One, because Retaliation is still incredibly weak. I honestly can't say I've ever had it do me any benefit. You're essentially only reflecting about 200 damage back to your opponent for each attack. So again, not a huge fan. I mean, it probably could do well with one of the traits in Master, which we'll go over. Inner Fire, they changed this one. This used to be anytime you were struck by burning, you got Fury. This time, again, whenever you strike someone who actually has over 3 stacks of burning, you get Fury. So that's a nice little change. That way you don't have to actually worry about getting burnt yourself. And then, of course, right-handed strength. This got moved down from a Grandmaster to an Adept. I was very surprised to see this. So this might be too strong for an Adept, to be honest with you. Because again, with this one, on top of Radiant Power, you can really spec tanky and still maintain a very, very high crit chance. So this one might be too strong. I'm going to be honest with you.
So it almost seems like the scales are really imbalanced just in this adept choice here. Like
right,
it's like inner fire in the center, and then healer's retribution at the light end, and right hand strength on the heavy.
Right. I'm sorry.
I was going to mention something. Going back to healer's retribution. What if when it says a heal skill, that's referring to not just your number 6, your healing utility, but maybe other sources of healing.
You mean like meditations?
Yeah, like meditations or
I could see that being useful then.
Yeah.
I really could, because then that would really help with one of the masters we're about to go over. Definitely.
Or what about that one? I think it's greatsword trait, the one that heals you when you strike people with it or whatever.
That would be OP as hell. Because you would essentially have permanent retaliation. Imagine that every single time you hit, 3 seconds of retaliation. Oh my goodness.
But I mean, what's Guardian know about it?
It is. But you know what? And this is just to go off a little bit. I'm really hoping they still change the functionality of retal to being something from a long duration, very minor damage, pushback to say a very short duration, something that you reflect damage. You know what I mean? Something that lasts like a second or less. You know what I mean? That reflect something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Make it more skillful. Make it less of a passive thing and more of a hey, I want to. There's a kill shot coming. Instead of reflecting the kill shot, just reflecting the damage.
Exactly. I mean, you're still going to get hit with the damage, but so are they. So I mean, I'm really hoping that they still take that into consideration, because retaliation seems just a very mindless boon. Okay, so let's go over to masters. This line here, this is the only line. This is the only master line in all of them that I find that each of them can compete with each other. That I could see myself taking either one. So, Signet of Wrath. Anytime you activate your Virtue of Justice, you will immobilize your target for at least 3 seconds. That is amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, that looks really good.
Yeah. And then, of course, below it, you have, you get a damage bonus for having Retaliation. Amazing. Really good to have a flat damage bonus. And then below it, Radiant Fire, which... This is good in 2 ways. 1, you don't even have to have Torch equipped for it. And 2, even if you do, it'll increase the burning even more. So I can see myself taking either one of these, to be honest with you. They're all really good choices.
Well, okay. Were you able to watch the Guardian segment of the...
I did.
You did? Okay. Well, do you remember how they were saying that whenever the Radiant Fire thing proc, you were that tile flipped on Torch 4?
Yes.
Yeah, you could...
Oh.
Yeah, remember they were saying how you could throw that whenever it comes up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so strong. Oh my gosh.
Right now, that's currently how it works.
Oh. That is evil, man.
They were really happy about it, right, when they were revealing it.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this then. Then that is probably slightly stronger than the other two, but not by much. I could still see myself taking the other two, but if what you're saying is correct and it is, then that is amazing. So yeah, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, the thing I like about that retribution trait is the fact that it's not just a flat damage boost. It's only while you have retail, so you have to think about having your retail up more often. You have to think about having that boon. And if they were to change it so it's a bit more of what you were wanting them to, where it's more of a short duration but higher damage thing, that would make it even more skillful. Because like not only are you having to think about when it's up, but you also get a boost for maintaining it or being smart about it.
Right. So essentially, like, say you did a kill shot on me for just, say, 10k damage or whatever the case is. Say I pop that. I now have the damage bonus of 10%. I pop it back to you. You take 1,100 damage, 11,000.
Yeah.
I say take. I mean, it's still there. So yeah, absolutely. That would be a nice little. That would be really neat for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Grandmasters. All right, I'm just going to say it. This is, again, another one of these choices where one of them is just vastly superior to the rest. Amplified Wrath, they buffed this one. So not only do you still have that 33% damage bonus, they melded Defender's Flame into it, which again blocked, burned while blocking. So this got even stronger versus, say, the Perfect Inscriptions, which got a slight buff, but again, it's still just signets overall are just very unappealing. And then again, as I've said before, with Retaliation, regardless of what source you're getting it from, it's still a very, very small bit of damage you're getting. Like, even if I max out my power, I'm only going to be reflecting about 260 damage back, so why would I care about that, having it scale off condition damage? So it's again, Amplified Wrath is just this far superior choice of any of the three. So
yeah, but again, all of these numbers, like even the numbers of like boons and conditions, can all be tweaked. So
of course,
yeah, it could very easily turn out that retail does a lot more damage, or scales a lot better, or goes more towards the idea you have. Like,
yeah,
anything could change with the numbers wise. So stuff right now could seem really overpowered or underpowered, but anything could change before release or before this change goes live.
Absolutely. Again, just going off by the numbers we see, so you're absolutely 100% correct. All right, so let's go to the next tree, which would be Valor, my favorite tree, which got really nice changes. Here we go. Valor.
Valor.
Dude, actually, and I'm just going to put this out here, and this is a good and bad thing. And the reason why I say this is bad is because Guardians are still going to be pigeonholed into going into Valor for sustain. That is the problem that I still see.
Yeah, because you guys have the lowest health pool, right? Lowest baseline?
Yes. So that's one of the issues that I see. You're still going to see DPS Guardians, even Bunker Guardians, still being pigeonholed into this trait line. So while it did get nice buffs, I still wish I could not have to resort to this, but whatever. All right, so let's go to the minors. Valorous Defense. Ugh.
I can tell your reaction right away.
All right, so right now the cooldown is 90 seconds. But that is 45. Even if you made it like a 20-second cooldown, it is still just one of the most underwhelming traits I've seen. So it's just, I don't know what they should do with that. It's literally, if you took that trait away, I probably would never even notice it.
I had an idea. What if they made it like a 3-second internal cooldown or no internal cooldown? Aegis spam for years.
Aegis spam for days, whatever. But it's like, what is that?
Oh, that was Shattered Aegis.
That would be interesting, but again, the damage on Shattered Aegis is still relatively small. 600 damage is, I don't know.
No internal cooldown. Well, they did say that in tanky gear it was hitting for about 1,000.
Right.
So imagine someone just getting blown up by hitting you all.
Oh, dude, that'd be great. But just that I don't know. But we'll skip that. So I'm just gonna my opinion on that one is still, even though they buffed it, it's still just one of those traits where I'm like, it's there, I guess. Okay, Courageous Return. This goes back to what I was talking about, the on-kill revival traits. Completely useless in my opinion. And remember, I'm talking SPVP only. That's it. So this, I don't like these at all. Across any profession who still has them, these need to be either removed or have another effect added onto them. I don't know. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, Warrior has very similar traits to this. We have actually 2 minors in tactics still.
Right.
Currently, we have 3, which really bothers me. But
That's what I'm saying. All of them need to be looked at, and they all need to, because they're useless in combat.
Well, like
all of them.
Like my opinion on resurrection bonuses and resurrection traits is they should be majors and give you that option of choosing that over something else. Because with the minors, if you're gonna have a minor that just gives you stuff, I would rather apply to as many situations as possible. It's nice for, say, dungeons or War of the World or something where there's a high chance you'll be rezzing someone. And yeah, in PvP there are certain times when you're rezzing people, like team fights and whatnot. But it doesn't have universal application to really any of those modes, because if you're soloing, you're not necessarily going to be rezzing people all the time. If you're roaming in World of the World, you're not going to be rezzing people all the time. And if you're 1v1ing or decapping and roaming in PvP, you're not going to be rezzing people all the time. So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, these res traits are nice, but not for everything. And with the new system, it seems like they're trying to make things as well-rounded for all the modes as they can.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you that a lot of these, if anything, just switch them out for something that would be a choice that you can set up a build for.
Something that would be useful in most situations versus a very, very small percentage of what might happen. So, and what might happen, which is not even a guarantee. So, and then a Might of the Protector. Holy crap! This got a pretty nasty buff. Right now, what it does is it does what you see here. It gives you might upon blocking. But now, with that change, that gives you 3 sacks instead of 1. Now, this is a massive buff, but it's also a problem because right now, remember all the new heals we got? Remember that a little while ago?
Yeah, yep.
This further makes me not want to take the new heal.
Litany of Wrath?
Yeah. I mean, it was really, really bad before, but if that change goes into effect, then I really have no reason to take it. You know what I mean? So, it's, again...
It pigeonholes you into shelter.
It does. I mean, and that's a problem. I want them all to be somewhat competitive, and they're really not. So as much as I accept and I like this buff, it's still pigeonholing me into using shelter. So, yeah.
Again, we should probably reiterate, numbers on all this stuff can change, and, mechanics, stacks of might could change, yada yada. It almost sounds like Guardians, you guys need kind of the same thing that's happening with Warriors right now, or at least what seems to be happening in the background, is where they're doing things that make our other heals more desirable. I'll go over this a bit more when we get to the Warrior stuff, but it seems like Guardians could use that same kind of treatment where they look at making all of your heal skills more desirable and more relevant compared to each other. Because like with Warriors, yeah, again, I'll get into it when we get to the Warrior stuff, but they're making our other heals look more appealing compared to heal sync.
Absolutely, and that's a great thing to have them be competitive with each other, because I'm tired of using shelter,
Yeah.
It's a free heal in most cases.
Trust me.
It really is.
Same camp with heal sync.
So, yeah, it's all right. Let's move on to the adepts. All right, so Strength of the Fallen, they merged this one from one of the down traits to Purity. Nice little change. So pretty nice, but again, I still don't think it's strong enough to compete with what now is called Smiter's Boon and Focus Mastery. So Smiter's Boon, this not only reduces the cooldown of meditations, but also gives you a free meditation. So let me give you an example. Assuming this stays the way it is, of course, it could be subject to change. Say I pop Shelter. I don't know if it's going to happen before the heal finish or after, but say I pop Shelter, I get a 4.5k heal. I'm also going to get another 2k heal, as well as remove a Condi, as well as do spike damage around me. So that is a really nice buff. Holy crap. So, yeah, that might be too strong. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I can see that one being moved to Master.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't mind it either. That'd be fine. But, and then, of course, Focus Mastery. This is kind of neat because Focus Mastery it's essentially like an offensive/defensive. It's a mix of the two. So now, Focus Mastery, you're going to get protection anytime you use one of the two abilities, which is really nice. So I can see that definitely competing against Smiter's Boon. Both are really good choices depending upon what you want to play, so it's good to have variety, and it's good to have them both compete against each other. I think Strength of the Fallen is a little weak. I don't see anybody taking it, But the bottom two, absolutely.
I think this is kind of similar to something they've done with Warrior. We got all of our Vengeance traits merged into one. I think what they've done with every class is they've taken all of those down traits and they've just put that there for people who want to run downed builds, down gimmicky builds. Like you've got the Vengeance for Warrior, you've got the Lava Tomb for Ellie, you got Strength of the Fallen for Guardian. I think in every class's situation, you're just going to have that one adept trait, and I think they made sure to make them all adepts. You'll just have all of these adept traits that they're in one of your lines, one of your specializations, and they're just there if you want to run a gimmicky down build. Like I think they wanted to preserve those traits, but they made it less of a a disruptive thing.
Of course. Hey, whatever. People want to take them. That's absolutely fine. It's a little stronger, so I'm sure people would welcome that.
Downstate Ellies, Downstate Necros, they're a thing.
Downstate Necro is just pain. Ugh. All right, let's go to the Masters. This is interesting because Shield, based on what we've seen, has still not functionally changed. So when we're looking at, say, Stalwart Defender, I still don't see anybody taking it versus, say, Strength in Numbers because, yes, you get a little more toughness when you have Shield, but it's only for you and it's only while you're having Shield versus, say, I can get 150 toughness for me and my party forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, to me, it just doesn't compete. So they need to look at that one. And then, of course, communal defenses. This used to be a Grandmaster, and they're making it into a Master. I don't know how I feel about it. I have no idea how strong this would be. I mean, yeah, I guess you could pair it with Shattered Aegis. Maybe it would work really well with that. We have to see, but I can still see myself taking Strength in Numbers over that one, so we'll have to see.
Now, with Stalwart Defender, there's something that's kind of similar with the trait in the Warrior stuff. What if they made shield abilities more desirable? What if they retune those to have more interesting effects or be more useful?
Then, of course, that would be the case. But that's what everyone's been crying about for the Guardian. I mean, our symbol is a shield for Christ's sake, and yet no one wants to use the shield. So people have just been calling for just overall functionality changes of the whole thing, just overhaul the shield itself or something of that sort, because I used to use shield a long time ago, back when you used to be able to pop down the shield of absorption, move, thus foregoing the heal, still maintain that shield and still attack. That was the only reason why I kept it. But ever since they fixed that, I had absolutely no reason to run it ever since they did. So again, I mean, yeah, just like what you said, if they made it a little more desirable, then yeah, definitely, I could see myself taking it.
Yeah, it's very similar to Offhand X for Warrior right now. It doesn't provide enough. It's not worth running over other offhands, and I have a feeling that this is speculation. This is just a hunch, but they might actually be doing that. They might actually be looking at all of the weapons that every class has that like no one wants to take, like Shield for Guardian, Offhand for Warrior, and looking at them and then updating them, changing their functionality so they actually work better.
Right. But and it's like you said, because aside from Engineer, I didn't see any of the skills being demonstrated by any class. You know what I mean? We didn't see any of them that were changed, or if they were. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. All right, let's go to Grandmasters. Altruistic Healing didn't change. Monk's Focus got a nasty buff again. I'm okay with that because that's what I use. So what they did was they merged. Let me see what I forgot, because I use this trait. They merged Focus Mind with Monk's Focus. So Focus Mind grant Fury, and Monk's Focus heals. They merged that. So I'm like, okay, I don't really think I have an issue with this one. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, it is a Grandmaster. I don't think I have an issue with that one. However, now you have a new trait called Retributive Armor. Actually, this isn't a new one. This used to be an Adept, where it converted, toughness to precision. That's what it does now. So this one converts, precision. Toughness to precision on a high amount, but also gives you toughness when you block. My problem with this is it's directly competing with Altruistic Healing and Monk's Focus, which both provide sustain. That one doesn't provide sustain at all. It really, I mean, yes, you're blocking. You're essentially getting, damage reduction from physical damage, but what about Condi damage, right? You're not getting that. So it seems a little weak in that regard, especially when you're competing against the other two that provide self-sustain in terms of healing.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you think?
You've got the two options for sustain, but maybe they want to give that third option for more damage. Maybe they want to, because it gives you it'll be giving you ferocity now as well. What if
I thought it was just Wait. Are you giving ferocity and precision
It
and
says
toughness?
retributive power. Gain toughness for a period of time when you block an attack. When blocking an attack. Gain ferocity based on your toughness.
But I think the tooltip's wrong because if you read it, the conversion is precision, not ferocity.
Oh yeah, well okay.
Yeah.
They need to. That's dev stuff. Honestly, in that case, we don't know. We don't know what it is.
Right. Well, if it's ferocity, it's even worse. Honestly, I would rather take precision any day of the week. But so this whole tree, in my opinion, was meant to be self-sustained for the guardian itself, and this one just really doesn't provide it. So I don't see anybody really taking it. So just gonna leave it there.
Nah.
Let's go to the next one. Honor. I love how these names have awesome names to it. Honor. Yeah. All right. Heard it all. All right. So the first two minors, they didn't change. The Grandmaster minor, they changed. It used to be 10% damage when you had less than full endurance. Now it gives you endurance regeneration. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that. I prefer the damage increase, but this isn't really bad by any means. So cool change. The adepts, I don't like any of these adepts at all because you're pigeonholed into using mace, and if you don't use mace, you have to use the bottom two, and the bottom two are not very good. That's assuming you're not running a bunker build. If you're running, say, an offensive build or a hybrid build, adepts and honor, they're all essentially worthless to you, unless you're using mace. So I think something needs to be. Well, this goes back to what we talked about, all those traits like being down, fall damage, revived, or killed. They all need to be looked at. And again, the bottom one being the one where you get protection when you fall needs to either be completely overhauled, like all the other ones in every other profession, or have an added effect on top of it. So, I don't honestly. If I ended up going in this tree, which I probably will, I'm probably going to take the down trait one because the other two just are very unappealing to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, gain increased healing power for a period of time when you block an attack while wielding a mate. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Like, each of these, this is a situation kind of like the res traits where you don't really have anything that benefits a lot of mode. Like, it's very specific stuff. It's very, yeah, you're kind of pigeonholed into certain things depending on what you do, and even then, like, some of those things, like in your case, the Protector's Impact, even that one it's not really.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, you're forced to use mace with the first one. You have to be rezzing someone for the second one, and you don't get any benefit out of the third one unless you're falling. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess maybe take Shield or Protective Reviver. At least you get some use out of it, in like a team fight or something.
Yeah, I guess. I would literally be forced to take that. So I guess that would be it. Okay. Masters. So they changed it. There used to be two-handed mastery here, so they broke that up. So now every single weapon now has their own thing for it. You know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of cool. So the honorable staff, boon increase as well as cooldown reduction. I'm actually cool with this one. I like it. I have no issue with this one. This is really neat because staff is actually the only weapon on my guardian that I consistently use since release, and I might consistently still use it depending upon how good or bad the longbow is. Pure of heart. Getting Aegis when you heal or when you... whoa. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Aegis heals when it blocks an attack.
No, I was thinking of something. I thought it said just block. I'm like, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Okay, this one used to be an adept. I don't think it's strong enough to compete with honorable staff, in my opinion. I still think it's a little too weak. I think it needs to be moved back to adept. And then, of course, empowering might. That didn't change at all, and nobody really ever took it. So I don't see anybody really taking... empowering might. They're probably going to be stuck to the top two. So that's just, I think, personally. And then Grandmaster. Pure Voice didn't change. Actually, no. They merged the shout reduction trait with this one, so this got a little bit of a buff.
Yeah, this is your shout merge trait.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. They merged all of the symbol traits. Finally, holy shit. Yeah, seriously. And then, of course, Force of Will got a little bit of a buff, but I still think it's a very, very, very unimaginative, very boring trait. So, personally, I can see myself using Rid of Persistence in combination with Symbolic Avenger on the Zeal tree.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too. Like, imagine, not just in, say, PvP, but like in PvE. Say you've got a bunch of melee around a boss, drop a symbol, everyone gets everything.
Oh, yeah. That's why honestly, that's why like when I look at Pure Voice and Writ of Persistence, those two compete against each other. I see taking either one depending upon if I'm using shouts or meditations. So those two are good in my opinion. I just think that Force of Will still very boring, it's not strong enough to compete with the top two, especially Pure Voice. So yeah. All right, let's move to the last one.
The last one.
The last one.
Virtuous virtues.
All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Minors. Inspired Virtue didn't change. That stayed the same. Virtue of Retribution. This one got merged with Vengeful, where it increases the duration. So nice little change. Nothing terrible there. And then, of course, Power of the Virtuous. This got merged. This actually, I guess it's the same. Honestly, I mean, all they did was added on the reduced recharge. So I'm not sure. See, now I'm confused about this. When I spec fully into Virtues, I already get a 30% reduction. Is that on top of it, or is it separate? Because that is something I'm curious about. Because you could essentially be a 45% reduction in cooldown or recharge rate. So I don't know.
Wait, between which ones?
All right, you see Power of the Virtuous, the bottom one on the minor.
Yeah.
You see where it says recharge reduced by 15%.
Yep.
Now they removed like the stats associated with traits. Is that also, say, for instance, recharge rate?
Oh, yeah, I can explain that one, actually. What they did with these is, okay, you know how it was 30% before, right?
Yes.
What they've done is they have half of that, 15%, gets applied right when you equip that specialization. So in this case, right when you equip Virtues, like regardless of whether or not you have this Grandmaster, you will get 15% reduced recharge rate. And then when you unlock this Grandmaster while you're doing the unlocking through the other system, which for you and I, these are going to be unlocked already, then you'll be up to 30%. That's how that works.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
That's actually a little bit of a that's weird. I mean, I guess it works. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
it's no real change for us. It's more of like a newer player type thing. Like
right.
it's supposed to be, oh hey, you got the specialization, and you get that bonus immediately, and then you feel good when you get the other part. It's like, it's twice.
Oh my god, twice is better than before.
Yep.
All right. Adepts, Unscathed Contender. This didn't change. See, my issue with this is, again, it's very situational. Getting any sort of Aegis up for any sort of significant amount of time is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
But then again, that is a pretty hefty damage bonus.
Although Scepter. I mean, in PvP, they're going to be throwing a lot of stuff at you most of the time, but,
yeah.
You know, if you can get a good...
PvP, absolutely.
Well, I mean, even in PvP, say in World War roaming or approaching a point or something like that, if you're approaching a point after capping something and there's a team fight going on, and they don't know you're there, you got Aegis up, Scepter, I think, is 3, and then Smite. Boom.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That could definitely be the case. So I could see that being pretty decent for an Adept. Absolutely. Retaliatory Subconscious. This didn't get changed. Very, very, very weak. Incredibly weak. Like, holy crap weak. Not even close to the other two in terms of effectiveness. No one will ever take that trait. I'm sorry.
What if they take out the internal cooldown?
Then I could see people taking that. Yes, absolutely. If there's no ICD, then yes, I could see people taking it. But that is a massive ICD, like especially when you compare it to like other traits where you get protection when you get knocked back on a 5-second internal cooldown.
Yeah.
This is a 30-second cooldown, and you get a worse boon. So, yeah, I'm just saying, as it stands right now from what we've seen, and it, just like you said, these things are subject to change. You know, right now, no one's going to touch that. Master of Consecrations hasn't changed. Nice little adept. I see that competing with Unscathed. Good changes, or good trait. Master of Supreme Justice hasn't changed. Absolute Resolution has not changed. Virtuous Mouth, that's the new one that they added with the slow.
It says has a chance to slow enemies.
Oh,
so
it might be AoE.
It might be AoE still.
Then I could see that competing with Absolute Resolution on a DPS build. Absolutely, I could see that. However, I still think Supreme Justice is still too weak to compete with the bottom two. So the bottom two, I could still see them being competitive, assuming Virtuous Mallet is an AoE skill. Let's see. Grandmaster, Permeating Wrath hasn't changed. Battle Presence actually hasn't changed. And then, of course, Indomitable Courage got moved up to here. But Indomitable Courage got buffed because before, what it does now is it gives you the Saxon Might, but it doesn't stun break you. That's a separate trait. So they merged two traits there, which is nice. So even if they didn't merge it, that trait would still be better than the top two. But since they did merge it, it's just infinitely better than Battle Presence and Permeating Wrath. So the top two definitely need to be changed significantly to even be even close to competing with Indomitable Courage. So a little bit of an issue. Hopefully they look into it, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
what do you think?
It seems like overall, it seems like you guys are either. I think they're gonna need to do a lot more development on kind of the Guardian stuff than they will on, say, the Warrior. Like the Warrior feels it with how they've set up the new mechanics and the new value. Well, the values can change, blah blah blah. But like just the new systems and the way things are set up with Warrior, it seems like they're a lot further along with that development than they are with Guardian. Because yeah, there's for Guardians, as you've explained, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of places where something just doesn't make sense or doesn't size up to the other options that it's competing with.
Right. But again, it's just like you said, subject to change. So hopefully that does take into consideration. But that's pretty much it, man. I mean, we've gone over all of them. Obviously, most changes are good. Quite a few that still need to be looked at, but that's just the way it is. So let's head on over to the Warrior now.
Yeah. Now before we jump to Warrior, there's something that's been, it kind of came to my mind while we were going through the Guardian stuff. What would you say to us doing something similar to what we did with some of the previous podcasts and going over every class, or in this case, 2 classes per? I mean, we won't necessarily have the same kind of expert level knowledge as some of the other people, but we could still give general impressions of stuff. I mean, how knowledgeable are you on other classes? Because I've been doing a fair amount of multi-classing since Shoutbow became the meta in PvP, because Shoutbow bores me to death.
I have a little bit. I mean, I play a couple classes here and there, nothing too significant. But yeah, I could definitely see. Well, again, as someone who has so many matches against other classes, I could definitely give you input on specific skills and traits that I find to be either underpowered, too strong, or whatever the case is. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could do 2 per episode, and then that'll give us plenty of content for episodes, and it'll also give us the info that people are probably looking for, because obviously not all of our listeners and viewers are Guardians and Warriors. There's obviously Ellies and
they're all Guardians. Shut up.
They're all Guardians. There's one Warrior, and that's me, and then everyone else is Guardian.
No, but you're right. Absolutely, yeah. That would make total sense. What do you think about adding on to, like, say, a guest for those, or no?
We could, but the only problem with doing that is we'd have to be better about finding our guests. I mean, I've come to know more experts on things, so we could maybe reach out to some people.
Awesome.
So yeah, let's do that. We got Guardian Warrior this episode, and then we'll do 2 per episode after this.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's do it. All right. So now on to Warrior. We're definitely not going to make this a 1 hour, so we'll just roll with it.
Still go over it.
We'll just roll with it. All right. So you just go down the line like we did with Guardians. So I kind of already gave a spiel on this in another setup. I did this during one of the streams, but I'll condense it and bounce it off of you.
Okay.
So in strength, actually there's gonna be a rolling theme with a lot of the Warrior stuff. A lot of our stuff actually didn't change. Like a lot of our minors especially didn't change, because they're actually, most of them are pretty nice, pretty good. Mm-hmm. Strength is a perfect example. None of our minors changed, not a single one.
Right.
Which is understandable because they're all really good. Reckless Dodge is fantastic. It's unblockable. It hits a bunch of people. It does nice chunk of damage.
Based on that tooltip, it doesn't say unblockable, dude.
That's the thing. It's an undocumented functionality.
Right.
I don't know if this means they're going to change it or if they're not touching it, but I can confirm in the game right now it's unblockable. I use it to great effect against Guardians.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
It applies sigils. It applies sigil effects too.
Oh wow! Of course.
Yep, it's the hidden killer of Warrior. Anyway, building momentum, same deal. It's a really nice trait. I don't see why they would need to change it. Stick and move. Stick and move has always kind of bored me, but I mean it's nice. It's not exactly just a flat damage buff, although practically speaking it is. But yeah, it's always been there. It's nice. All right, Death from Above is not changing. It's fun. It works well. It's easily my favorite following trait in the game. for obvious reasons. You
Wow.
land and things explode.
Pretty much. Yeah,
Yep.
I could see that. Wow.
Restorative strength is not changing, and okay, here's the thing about restorative
Didn't they
strength.
add on something? Like
No,
one of them?
nope,
They
nope.
didn't?
That is exactly how it's been. I think since the beginning of the game. I don't think restorative strength has ever changed.
I thought they added on like an extra condi.
No,
No?
I think
Okay.
it's always been those condies. Now, okay, this is something I want to mention. This is going back to what I had alluded to when we were talking about the Guardian stuff and making your heals more compete with each other more.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing with heal sync is they're actually, this is again disclaimer, everything's in development and this all change, whatever. But what they're doing with heal sync is they're actually reducing the passive effect. They're reducing the passive heal again.
Okay.
But when you use it, it will give you resistance for X amount of seconds. Right now it's 6. So we have a reason to use healing signet, which means everything that gives us benefits for using our heal, sigils, runes, other traits, stuff like that, will be meaningful to us again, including restorative strength. Not to mention, they're also adding categories to healing surge and mending, and hopefully looking at those traits for the categories, they're also going to look at like healing values and functionality. That means those could be competitive as well. So we may see warriors using mending and healing surge.
Hopefully.
Meaning, a trait like restorative strength would actually be competitive, would actually mean something, because that's a lot of really nice clearing for just your heal. So
Well, it's essentially all of the movement ones.
Yep,
so,
it's
yeah,
all
dude.
Yep, all the movement ones plus weakness.
Pretty significant. Let's just hope that it's significant enough to where people would want to branch out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, most builds are probably not going to take death from above. Like,
Well, yeah, of course
it's a good trait, it's a fun trait, but practically no one's really going to take that outside of PvE, like open world stuff and World v World. But even still, death from above is perfectly worth being in its slot. It's perfectly fine there. Restorative strength with the healing thing, hopefully that will be a compelling choice. Now, that being said, we kind of have a situation like some of your Guardian stuff where there's a third trait in there that a lot of people are going to choose.
Yeah,
it's
I know
majority.
why too.
Physical training, it's basically making all of our physicals. Now, here's what kind of balances out. It's only physical skills.
Right.
This will include mending, so increased healing is my guess, and
Probably.
reduced recharge. But it's only physical skills. So if you're not using a physical skill, or if you're not using any physical skills, then this doesn't really mean much to you.
Right.
So I can this is why I don't feel like it's weighing down this choice too much, because it only applies to a specific type of skill. Whereas with Guardian stuff, it's more like a general, this is just better overall.
Yeah.
So honestly,
It's not terribly at all. It's pretty good.
yeah,
I think
it's a really good trait if you're using physical skills. Like,
Right.
really good. But I think what keeps it at an adept is because it's only physical skills.
Right.
So I'm happy with the strength adept. I like those. I could see all 3 of those being chosen on relatively equal footing, just depending on your build. This is actually going to be a common theme as well, is all of the warrior choices, or majority of them, are based on your build. Like, it's not like everyone's going to take this trait all the time. It's more like everyone who does this build is going to take this trait, and everyone who takes this build is going to do this trait, and stuff like that.
Of course.
So that's why I'm overall really happy with the warrior changes, because it seems like they've got a lot of the stuff kind of locked down, and they give you a good, like, everything makes sense, or most things make sense. You jump
I think my only issue with that trait is again, this might be something completely minor, I'm not too sure, that it's going to work with Rampage. And my biggest problem with that is Rampage right now already hits like a freaking truck.
Numbers.
Like,
Numbers.
really. I'm just saying that if it were, and I was told that it would, that I'm just saying, if it is like 158% increase in, say, your Rampage damage, holy shit.
Oh yeah.
That's my only thing. I mean, everything else seems to be fine, but I look at that and I'm like, oh.
Well, like,
Oh.
my guess what they're gonna do is, if this does affect Rampage, which it more than likely will, because Rampage will be classified as a physical skill,
Right.
is they're going to bring the cooldown of Rampage back up to 180 like it was before, and then it'll be affected by that cooldown reduction. So that'll drop. I think that'll drop it down. If my math is right, that'll drop it down to 150, where it is now. And then they'll also turn down the numbers on Rampage to make more sense with this trait. Because, yeah,
Right.
150% damage on current Rampage skills is... It's like Lich Form. But it's like Lich Form, but even more nuts.
It's more... I mean, I get hit by like 5k auto sometimes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, Jesus Christ. Imagine double that. Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're looking into it. It's just something that crossed my mind, and I'm like, please don't make Rampage the next Lich Form. I hate Lich Form with a passion.
People already kind of look at it that way, and it's like, it has some counterplay. It's not as bad as Lich Form, but... yeah, so Adept line, I'm happy with the choices. Master, okay, I like what they've done in Master overall. I like it a lot. Okay, so Body Blow. Every CC we do is going to apply weakness and bleeding with this trait. I like this because this takes condition builds and gives them a reason, this plus a Grandmaster, gives them a reason to take strength.
So it looks like it says it's essentially all forms of CC. Why don't they just, it seems like what it is, right? I mean, they're labeling all of the forms of CC. Are they missing any?
Well, it is in development. It could just be they haven't chosen to word it any other way, or I don't know why it's that way. It's a development comment, so I don't really pay much attention to it. Anyway, yeah, it gives CC heavy builds or Condi builds or hybrid builds even. Like one of my builds currently is a hybrid Condi power build that uses strength traits. I like this because it gives condition builds a reason to run strength. It gives condition builds a reason to choose strength as a specialization as opposed to the go-to arms. So I'm happy with Body Blow. I like the functionality.
I like it too.
It's rewarding you for CCing opponents.
I think it's fair, absolutely. Especially as a master, no issue there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this has to be my favorite. This next one has to be my favorite one. Of all of the traits.
I'm looking at it, I'm like, this one doesn't seem that strong.
Forceful Greatsword? Okay.
I mean, the damage bonus is nice, but like the other two just, I mean...
Well, first off, the thing is, this isn't brand new. This is just a merging of all our Greatsword traits.
Right.
Right now, in order to get, right now you have slashing power is just 10% increased damage up in strength.
Right.
Then you have Forceful Greatsword down in arms, which is another master. That adds might every hit and reduces cooldown of Greatsword skills. The thing is, right now you have to go at least 4 into both strength and arms to get all of these benefits.
Right.
This makes it so it's nice and simple. It puts it all in one spot. And the thing is, Forceful Greatsword is really nice for failing strength. There's no internal cooldown on it, and it's nice for just personal DPS. Right. So you can just stack might for days. It's really, it only lasts 5 seconds, but it's still really nice. And having this in the line that has always struck me as kind of more of a greatsword line, despite the other functionality being in arms, it's just nice. It helps open up more build variety for us. We don't have to feel strained anymore for using a greatsword. It gives us a very clear option and a very nice option for using a greatsword.
Can we trade? Please.
I don't blame you. I mean, Warrior, like I was saying before, Warrior seems like it's more it's been
fleshed out.
Yeah, it's more fleshed out. There's been more development on some of its stuff.
No, I like it. It's good. It's definitely what I would consider to compete with the top. Absolutely, yeah. Especially if you're not going for like a CC heavy build, this would be a good alternative.
Yeah. Now the third one, Great Fortitude. This has actually been moved up from Adept. I can understand why it's a master now. I can understand why they didn't change it. It's not particularly interesting, but it's nice. It's practical. I can see it being useful for a number of builds. It's one of those traits right now where if you go into arms for Reckless Dodge, you may as well go take that Adept and take Great Fortitude just because it's nice to have, and you're going into strength anyway. So there's a variant to Shutbow that only goes 1 point for Reckless Dodge, but there's a lot of builds that go 2 in and then they have that extra health. It's a nice trait. It's not particularly exciting, but it's practical. And the amount that it gives, 10%, I think right now it only gives 7. It's just a nice boost, and it makes sense to be in Master. So Great Fortitude I don't really have much to say other than that. I don't have any qualms with it moving. It makes sense. It's practical. It's whatever. I personally will take Forceful Greatsword over it,
Of
but
course,
I could easily see builds taking it, like soldier builds or settler builds or stuff like that. Moving up to Grandmaster. Berserker's power.
Yeah.
Berserker. No, okay. Here's the thing. Berserker's power. Okay, right now, since the launch of the game, this is another trait that I've had a giant beef with since the beginning of the game.
Right.
Berserker's power, up until these changes or this change or whatever, has always annoyed me because it rewards you for not using your burst skill. Which
Right.
It goes completely against why I play Warrior, which is to be active, to be doing things, to be hitting people. But on the PvE side, that's not. You don't get rewarded for doing that. You get punished for using your skills. And in fact, there's a lot of Warrior stuff right now that punishes you for using your skills. This is nice because it rewards using the skill by giving you the benefit that it's been giving you before. And actually, with the numbers here, again, numbers can change, but the numbers here, that's actually been buffed by 5% per adrenaline level. So, yeah, overall, I love what they've done with Berserker's power. It lasts long enough to where you can potentially stack this, although it could be a refreshing buff, so it might not stack, because that would get a little ridiculous. But, again, numbers, durations, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, Berserker's power, really happy with what they've done. It's always been Grandmaster. With that, it's definitely worth being a Grandmaster. Otherwise, it'd be OP.
I would say that this, and again, obviously numbers can change. I think that right now it's one of those things that I think is too good, and I'll give my explanation why. And the reason being is that, like, if you look at other this is, to me, seems like just a better version of an executor trait that, say, a Necro has, or a thief has. And the situation to which you will get Berserker's power, I think, is a little too good, because again, especially with the way you gain adrenaline and constant, burst skills going off constantly, it just seems like the damage boost, at least in my opinion, is a little too high, especially with something that's attained so easily. And again, like, we can go back to the example of, say, symbolic power, where you get a 20% damage bonus for symbols, but again, that's a pretty significant stipulation. I'm not saying that it didn't need to change. It definitely did, because again, making you have to, not use your burst skills makes no fucking sense whatsoever to get a damage bonus. I just think that the numbers, for something that's incredibly easy to attain, is just a little too high. Obviously, a subject to change, but that's just a little how I feel.
Yeah. Now there is one counter to what you were saying there, where it's too good and how easy it is to get. Remember that burst skills can be dodged. Burst skills can be blinded. Burst skills have counterplay to them, and I mean, in PvE, yes, you'll have this pretty much up all the time, but that's kind of how it is right now. Like, people don't use it, so they have it up all the time. In PvP, however, you want to use your burst skills, but since you're fighting players, they can dodge, they can blind, they can block. And we don't get the benefits of Cleansing Ire when things are blocked. We don't get it when they're blinded or we miss. Like, I'm assuming they're making all of the stuff that interacts with the burst skill work like it does with Cleansing Ire, where if you miss, you don't get the benefits of it. So that's I guess my counterpoint to that is
right.
We can.
If that's the case, then probably yeah. But now one of the problems that I'm going to have, and this is going to suck, especially for Guardians. For Warriors like you like to say use Greatsword Hammer. They're going to further pigeonhole you into using Longbow, because that is a guaranteed hit with your burst, pretty much. And that's not good. You can't be pigeonholed into specific weapon sets.
Yeah, this is true. You do have a good point with Longbow. Hopefully, they're looking at Convulsive Shot, and they're going to do something with how it works to maybe change
if it's
that.
like what you said, then yeah, absolutely. It makes total sense. Like, say, if I block or dodge or invul or blind, say, an Eviscerate, and you don't get the bonus, then yeah, absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. I just have the fear that, again, it will pigeonhole more Warriors into bow something. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that just, it's oof. Pigeonholing is not good.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Strike and Strikes. This is, what they've done is they moved this from a Master to a Grandmaster, and with this current functionality, I can completely understand. Actually, for multiple reasons, I can understand.
That looks nice, though.
Okay, right now what it is it's just Confusion. Current iteration is just Confusion as a Master. They're supposedly adding Might. I'm gonna dismiss the number of stacks because numbers. And I like this because it gives, the main reason I like this is not only is it giving, it's giving condition builds, reason to go down this line, It's kind of there. It kind of does that right now, but it's kind of it's a hard sell for certain Condi builds to go this far, like to go 4 into strength right now.
Right.
But like my hybrid build works with this, and it's still nice. Anyway,
But you could do it with like body blow as well. That seems like a pretty nice little addition. I'm just saying.
That's what I was gonna say. That's why I like it being up here as well, is because it synergizes perfectly with body blow, perfectly. Because like you can go Condi, but go strength, get body blow and distracting strikes. You're getting all of the benefits of your confusion damage or your condition damage from your gear and whatnot by having those two, and then you're also getting the might on top of it. So it's rewarding you for interrupting, and it's scaling off of all of your condition stat. Plus, it's giving you more. Like it's
that's
nice.
A good one. That's a nice one. I have to say. I'm scared about that one. That's gonna hurt.
Trust me. If you got hit by my current version, you'd probably be even more scared.
Oh. Fuck.
I destroy people with that build. Anyway,
I'm just glad that they finally. Imagine if they implemented this, but they still kept Mace's burst instance. Oh my god! Imagine that.
Oh, that Skullcrack instant, or are you talking the Pommel Bash?
No. When they made Skullcrack instant. Imagine if they didn't make it and they implemented this. Imagine if it was still instant.
That would be ridiculous. Well, I mean, it wasn't instant before, but yeah, with its old cast time, yeah, this would be broken. Anyway, gushing over distracting strikes aside, Axe Mastery, this is a merging of all of our Axe traits. I can understand why it's a Grandmaster. This was actually, what it was 2 Masters. It
looks weak, dude.
Well, okay, I'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, originally... it was originally, we had Axe Mastery, the named trait that gave us recharge reduction and ferocity. That was a master in strength. And then you had another one called Sharpened Axes, I believe, way down in discipline, also a master that gave us adrenaline on axe crits. They've merged them. This is nice because again, you don't have to spread yourself as thin if you're using an axe. But like it's good overall. I agree with it being a Grandmaster. This is the trait that I was talking about with the whole pigeonholing of weapons, or that I would want to see not pigeonholing weapons. The thing where they would update the shield thing for Guardian, where they would update the skills. The skills. They would make them more appealing, more useful. Mm-hmm. This is a lot of the bonus. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. Maybe like a third of the reason you would take this is if you were offhand axe. Like, you don't get... There's 150 ferocity you get from main hand, sure, but if you want another 150, you use offhand axe.
Right.
So, the thing is, offhand axe is not that great for warrior in its current iteration. All of our offhands, other than that, are better. So, this isn't a bad trait. Even without the extra 150 ferocity, I could still see this being worthy of being in a Grandmaster slot. Like, it's really nice for axe builds, just axe main hand builds, axe shield, whatever. It's nice. But I think if they really want to encourage doing the dual axe playstyle, they need to update the skills on offhand axe, because the 4 doesn't do enough, the 5 is lacking a very key component, and it's a lot like your shield trait, where it's nice, but it's missing something. It's missing an update of the weapon skills.
Right.
So... That's my take on it. Is I'm fine with it being there. It makes sense, but I would really like to see them update offhand axe's skills to really encourage getting the full use out of that trait and like dual wielding axes. Plus, dual wielding axes is badass. Like, it's cool.
It looks badass.
It looks badass. So that's strength. You can jump to arms.
Yep.
Do you have any final thoughts on strength at all? Or?
I think a lot of the changes in strength are really, really nice changes. Again, just like every single profession, numbers need to be looked at and adjusted, but I'd say the overall way they're doing things is pretty good.
Yeah. All right, jumping to arms. Okay, this is another case. Actually, no. Okay, our minors. This is a case where there's been some stuff that happened. Okay, precise strikes is exactly the same as it is now. Bleed on crits, or chance for bleed on crits, whatever. Unsuspecting foe. You remember that old Skullcrack trait? That's baseline with this Spec now. That's
kind of crazy.
That is our master minor, and this is a buff. Like, this is just a buff. That's all there is to it. If they keep unsuspecting foe as a minor trait, you've already made arms really appealing. to a lot of builds, because you don't really even need to build for precision much, and you can just, boom, you got 50% increased crit chance against stun foes. That's hammer. That's mace. That's really
That's pretty
nice.
significant, I gotta say. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This was actually before Skullcrack was so powerful because Unsuspecting Foe was a minor, or not a minor, an adept.
It was
major.
a master, right? I thought it was a
No,
master.
it was adept, and then later they moved it to master
Right.
because Skullcrack was using it like crazy. I mean, there was also the mace problems, but yeah, that they actually had to move this from adept to master because of what it was doing. Now it's not even an adept anymore; it's a minor. So this is going to be a numbers thing. This is definitely going to be a numbers thing. I would not be surprised if doing this caused them some issues during balancing. But anyway, I'm happy with it being there. It makes arms really appealing to builds that aren't running sword or greatsword, builds that are running the blunt weapons. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Attack of Opportunity, this is actually a merge of our current Grandmaster Minor and an Adept Major.
That's a nice one too. My goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
right now, numbers-wise is exactly the same. It is exactly the same numbers-wise for everything involved. But this is nice because, like I was saying with my Spec, stick, whatever, about these before, it synergizes with itself and the rest of the line much better. Like, before, what you would have to do is to get these effects, you'd have to give up one of your adept majors. And then you get the longer blades. And you would have some builds that would do that. You have some people who really wanted to have the higher uptime on that 10% damage boost, so they would take, I believe it was Deep Cuts was the name of the
I believe
adept.
you're right, yeah.
Yeah, and they would do that, and then they would have a higher uptime on this damage boost, but it wasn't a widespread thing. There were a lot of other minor or other adept majors taken. This is nice because it's more synergy. It makes more sense. There isn't as much splitting and like worrying about certain things. You just get all the nice stuff in one neat package, and it synergizes well with itself and other things in the line, and I like that.
That's fair.
I like better synergy. Alright. Adept. Berserker's Fury. This is actually a merge of a Grandmaster in arms with a... Actually, this is kind of a weird Frankenstein of a trait. In a good way. It's basically... Okay, we have a few traits. One right now is called Furious Reaction, where if we take more than 10% of our health and damage, we get Fury and Vigor. We have a trait, a Grandmaster Major. These are all majors, by the way. There's a Grandmaster Major that gives us a bunch of adrenaline in combat periodically. And then there is... It's basically those two. Again, this one kind of has so many things going on that I lose track of what it is, but it's a merging of a couple traits and a rework of the one that gives us Fury and Vigor. This one, now, instead of us taking damage, it's us dealing damage below a certain threshold, which makes sense for the theme of arms, because taking damage doesn't really fit with what arms is. That's more of a defense thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem with this. I can see people taking it. It's sad to see Fury's Reaction, which is the Vigor and Fury one, go away, because I like that trait. But, you know, I could see people taking this. I would maybe take this in certain setups. I could see, like, it competes with the other ones, I'd say. But it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, what build are you going for? Type thing. It's not like with Guardians, where it's, oh, everything. Or it doesn't apply to anything, or stuff like that. So...
This isn't bad at all. Actually, it's a pretty nice little adept.
Yeah,
sure.
For an adept, it's good. I'm fine with it. I like the functionality. It's more in line with the theme of arms. I don't have a problem with it. Signet Mastery. This is a merging of all our Signet traits. Yeah, the reason that one has so much stuff going on is because we have a fair number of Signet traits, and this merges them together. So, and also, this is actually a really nice mechanics change. I like it. So, first off, we got the Signet reduction. We got actually, no. It's a merging plus more functionality. Mm-hmm. Plus a change in functionality. Okay, so we have a trait called Deep Strikes. I forget what the name of it is. It's basically a leveling trait right now. It's the one where you get more precision for passive Signet on you. You know, 5 Sig Warrior type stuff. What they did with this is they actually made it so every time you use a Signet, you get a stacking precision buff. this is another one of those ones where it takes the passive play, the traits that punish you for being active, and it turns it into rewarding you for being active. And I like this. It promotes active gameplay, which is what the warrior is all about. So that immediately I would already like. But again, it has the reduced recharge. And here's another cool thing. If you attack opponents when they're under half health, you get the active of Signet of Might, which is unblockable attacks.
Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, I like this. This is very strong for an add-up, but you gotta remember, this is specific to signets. Very specific to signets. It's much like with the physical one up in strength. It's very specific.
Actually, I don't think you need a signet to get the Signet of Might activation. You just have to hit someone below 50% of the threshold, right?
Yeah, but if you look at it in
That's
that,
pretty decent.
if you look at it in that light, though, it's just that and under a health threshold. It's not
Right.
You're not getting the max benefit out of that trait. So if you look at it in that light, it still makes sense to be in an adept because it's basically just an unblockable buff under a threshold. So I'm fine with it being an adept because it's so specific to signets, or it's only giving you just that threshold unblockable thing. Again,
Right.
numbers could all change. It's like this could get buffed. This is definitely a candidate for getting nerfed. I could see that, but I like it. You're not getting the 180 power from that Signet of Might thing.
No, you're just getting the
Yeah,
active.
just the unblockable. So I'm happy with that, but I could definitely see that one changing. I'm ignoring some of the tooltip stuff in there because some of it doesn't really make sense. It's like 100 precision, but there's also an attribute adjust. That might be the per level.
It's a little weird,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Deep Strike. This is actually a really interesting trait, and I like where it is. I really like what it is. Okay, the theme of arms has always been crit and condition damage. This is basically that theme embodied. Whenever you get Fury, you get condition damage as well.
Makes total sense, actually. Honestly, it really does.
Yeah, I like it. And it's an adjustable amount of condition damage, but it makes arms even more synergistic and appealing to those who go down it, to those who use the specialization. It's more synergistic. It is the very theme of the spec embodied, and I really like it. It's one of those. I like a lot of the new stuff they're doing where having a specific boon on you does something different. It gives you
Absolutely.
something else. Yeah.
We need more of that across all professions. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they're really interesting. These are really interesting to me. The engineer has a really cool one where it's like when you have rejuvenation, your outgoing healing is better and stuff like that. Like it's specific. Like you have to think about what you're doing with certain things, or like in this case, you have it up a lot, but it synergizes well. Except with that. So I'm happy with our add-ups. It's, again, just like with strength, it's very like, okay, if you're doing this build, you can go with this. If you're doing this build, you can go with this, or this one. This, like, it makes a lot of sense. And they all have equal weighting as far as I'm concerned, just depending on what you're doing. Master, Running Strikes is almost exactly the same. This was actually an add-up that moved up to Master, and I can see why they did it. They added Swiftness to it. And I think they took out an internal cooldown.
Didn't they? There used to be one where you got swiftness anytime you critted. This is the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
On top
Oh
of
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else?
Actually, that's a good point. We have Furious Speed right now. That is, when you crit, you get Swiftness. I completely missed that. This is actually a merge, as well as a.
Right.
No, it's actually just straight a merge. And maybe if they keep no internal cooldown, I think it's a slight buff. But anyway, I can understand being a master. It's always been a nice trait. Right now, it's just vulnerability, and it's the same crit chance and all that. So I mean, it's nice. It's nice for PvE. It's I don't really have much to say on it because it's very similar to what we have right now.
Right.
But still, nice. I can see it makes sense to be in Master because of what it does. It's a compelling choice depending on what you're doing. Opportunist has not changed. Same spot, same functionality. I've always liked Opportunist. It synergizes well with various things. But consider that with the Deep Strike trait, this is actually even more appealing because guess what our condition weapons are? Bow and sword. And guess what they both have? Immobilizes. Yeah. So I like that. I like that synergy. It gives us more reason to use sword and bow with the arms line. Blade Master, it's more or less unchanged except for the fact that they added the increased chance versus bleeding foes. It's basically just more synergy. It's otherwise unchanged. It rewards using swords more, which has always kind of been its shtick. I I'm happy with it. It stacks up to the other two as far as I'm concerned. I don't really have anything else to say on it because it doesn't necessarily do anything super interesting, but it's still nice to have that extra, play with bleeds. You have to make sure, you have a bleed on your target to get the most out of this trait. So there's still some active gameplay in there. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Grandmaster, Burst Precision is actually our newest Grandmaster from Strength, moved down to Arms. Now, when I was talking about this in my previous shtick when I was doing the stream, people were like, "Oh no, this makes no sense in Arms." Blah blah blah. But like, I can understand why people say it's not worth taking or like it's not worthy of being in this line because you're getting so much fury and crit stuff by going down this line that why would you want a 100% chance? You already have a high enough chance as it is. My counter argument to this is it's only on burst skills. First off, it's only on burst skills, and it's not the fact that you have so much crit stuff and fury in here, but it's guaranteed procs of all the stuff that comes off of crits, including sigils and runes. So, Burst Precision has always been a really nice trait to have. And even if it makes, the extra crit chance you have from the Rise of the Tree kind of mute with your burst skills, it's still only burst skills. Like, all of your other stuff gets the full benefit out of everything that gives you fury and your crit chance. You've got all of the stuff that procs off of crits. I'm fine with it being there, and it fits the theme of Arms, which is one of the themes.
Crit chance,
crit chance, exactly. It just makes sense there, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's going to kind of suck for current builds that go down Strength and get it, but just go down Arms. I'm fine with it being there. It makes sense, and it's definitely worthy of being a Grandmaster. Furious. I think this is a brand new one.
It is. I've never seen it before.
The critical hits grand bonus adrenaline. I feel like that's another trait we have currently. I forget which line it is. I forgot where it comes from, but that mechanic isn't new. But it's the stacking condition damage buff. That's new.
Mm-hmm.
That I like. That's very similar with the deep strike thing, where it's promoting, it's synergizing the two themes of the line into one thing. So where you've got a high crit chance, you get a bunch of crits, and then you've got more condition damage. I like it. It's one playing off the other. And specifically, this will give us a reason to use Flurry a lot more. Because that's a lot of fast hits, a lot of fast crits. And that's a big boost of crit chance, or condition damage.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And
I'd assume it would go as long as you could keep critting. Honestly, just keep adding stacks to it, yeah.
Well, there has to be an upper limit, because otherwise you're going to have a ridiculous amount of condition damage.
No, I mean, yeah, maybe. But
yeah, right now you can see there's a buff duration, so it makes sense. I can see why they stuck this as a Grandmaster. I mean, it would be worthy of being Grandmaster by itself, but if you notice what it's competing with, imagine if you could take Burst Precision and this trait.
Yeah.
That would be a little broken. Just a little bit. Because I mean,
a tiny bit, though.
Flurry is 8 strikes, just by itself. And imagine if all of them crit. That's 80 condition damage on it right there, and then everything else that gives you a bunch of extra crit. And Flurry only takes, I think, 2 to 3 seconds to finish. That's a lot.
It's a lot of crit, dude.
A lot of condition damage. Anyway, I'm happy with that. It's a brand new trait. I'm happy with its functionality. Dual wielding is basically unchanged. They even said during the stream that they were probably going to take that damage boost component out. And again, ignoring the numbers. Right now it's 10%. That says 15%, but again, numbers. Dual wielding's fine. Dual wielding's cool. If more people go down this line, people will need to pick one of those three anyway. And dual wielding sizes up, I'd say. I mean, it's one of those ones where it's if you look at it from one perspective, it's kind of boring, but at another, it's really interesting. So it's. I don't know. I'm happy with it there. It's Grandmaster now. It's basically not moving. So I don't have anything to say more on that one. That's fine.
Right.
All right. Defense. Okay. Defense, I feel, has actually gotten less powerful and less, I guess, I shouldn't say less appealing, but it's gotten less ridiculous, less powerful. Because if you remember, right now we have things like Merc Hammer in there, and just all of these crazy things that basically make strength mandatory.
Okay.
And now it's still going to be a good choice to take. It's still not going to punish you for taking it if you're running, say, a glass build, but it's no longer this ridiculous beast of a mandatory trait line that every warrior has to put some points into. It's been toned down a bit, and I like that.
You think so?
Yeah,
I still see every single one taking it only because for cleansing iron at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, it's still good to take. Don't get me wrong. It's still a very good
Right.
line. I can still see a lot of warriors taking it, but I don't. It's not stupid like it is now. Like I've always seen defense as a ridiculously good trait line, and I've never really liked it because it's borderline mandatory for most any build that goes PvP, for sure. And
Right.
even yeah. Anyway, the minor traits, 2 of them have not changed. Thick skin is exactly how it is now. Same spot. Adrenal health, same thing. Spiked armor. I really like this. Okay, spiked armor right now is one of our grandmasters in defense, and it's easily the worst of the 3 because they even buffed this. It used to be 10 and 10, I think, or 10 and 15, 5 and 15. No, it used to be 5 duration and 15 internal cooldown. It was absolute trash, and even now it's kind of meh. But with this change, I like this because it's a minor. First off, we get it guaranteed, and anytime we have retail, we get extra toughness. And it's not just when you're struck, but it's also when you block. I like it. It's putting it in a more appropriate spot, and it's more interesting. I like it because while we have retail, we're a little tougher, and it's not just when we're struck, but it's also when we block. In general,
Doesn't it seem like something that would be given to Guardian?
You would
think, right?
You would think.
It's kinda weird.
But you guys have enough retail generations.
No, I mean, like,
You're
I want
fine.
toughness too.
You're fine. You're
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, I really like what they did. I really like what they did with spiked armor. It's better than. Well, actually, no, I do like what they've done with it because our current minor grandmaster is armored attack, which, if you look in the adepts, I know this is the bottom one. That's now a choice. And I'll do the other 2, and then I'll do armored attack. Shield Master, this is a merge of all our shield skills, all our shield traits. What they've actually done
Actually,
with...
they nerfed it a little bit, didn't
They did nerf it. They took out the toughness aspect.
Yeah.
But if you consider, they rolled that into spiked armor, so... You know...
Right.
It kind of makes sense. Overall, it would be a buff, but... yeah, this is just... It's a merge of all of our shield traits, which is nice, because we don't have to split between defense and discipline anymore. I like it. It's cool. Nothing really else to say on it. It's just a merge. Dark March, exactly the same. And it's perfectly understandable that it would not change, and why it's still an adept, and why it hasn't moved, and blah blah. It's fine. It's fine as is. I'm honestly surprised they didn't take out the regen, because all things considered.
And then, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah. And then armor attack. Okay, I like what they've done by making it an adept and a choice, because now if you do decide to run a damage build, you can run this, and you don't have to feel forced in taking it because there's the other 2 traits that are nice for pretty much whatever build. If you just want to run a pure glass build and you don't care about like condition impairment, like movement impairments and the regen, and you don't care, you're not using a shield, this gives DPS builds who also run defense an option. It gives that as an option rather than something mandatory or something that just kind of comes baseline. I personally have never really liked what this is on the conceptual level. It's very boring. It's just a stat increase. But having it as a choice gives people who want it that choice. And you do have to fight with other 2 more interesting traits to take it. Whereas right now, you just get it baseline.
Right. Seems fine. Honestly,
Yeah,
it seems like it could compete against the 2. Absolutely.
Yeah. Had this been higher in the line, I would have had some problems with it because it's not really worthy of being a master grandmaster. It just doesn't do enough. But where it is right now, I'm fine with it. I'm happy with it there. Master. Okay. The last stand thing. This is a merging of all our stance traits. And I'm torn on this one, and actually really torn after John said they're probably going to take the vigor off of it. Okay. Right now, this is a merge of our trait that gives us longer stance time. This is a merge of the trait that gives us balanced stance passively when we get CC'd. And
It doesn't say longer trait. Oh, yeah, it does. Never mind.
Yep.
Sorry.
And then there's this is the third trait that got merged into this is Vigorous Focus, which is one of my favorite traits right now, where it gives us vigor when we use a stance. This coupled with the fact that they're probably going to remove the vigor, or at least John's thinking of removing the vigor, it makes me kind of sad. But I mean, I guess I'm indifferent. It's worthy of being a Grandmaster because Last Stand is currently there as it is, and it makes sense where like with what it does. Increased stance durations is powerful. It's really powerful, especially with like Zerker stands. And Last Stand is also powerful on its own merit. So I mean, I understand why it's there. I guess this is one of those traits where I'm personally sad because it's taking one of my favorite traits away and putting it into something that I've never really liked. I've never liked using Last Stand because I feel it's lazy. I feel like it's passive. It doesn't really reward good gameplay. It rewards lazy play because oh, I got CC'd. Oh, never mind, I'm not CC'd and I got a bunch of stability. Whoa. Like it's
There's
lazy.
so much of that in this game, dude.
Yeah,
it sucks, and I completely understand.
Yeah, it's lazy, but at least now it's a choice between that Call of the Weak and Cleansing Ire. So if you're gonna take that, you're gonna give up Cleansing Ire or Call of the Weak. Now, Call of the Weak, this is okay. This is actually an adept that got moved into Master and then had something else added on. The damage increase to weaken foes, that was the adept functionality.
Okay.
They moved it into Master and they added it so when you strike foes under quarter health, you also apply weakness to them. So I like that because it has synergy with itself. The thing I don't...
Fair enough.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about it is this is one of those situations where it feels like the weak one of the tier. Like, it feels weaker than the two other options. Like, it doesn't feel like it does enough yet. I mean, again, this is why I'm happy with numbers being tweakable, because it needs a number tweaking. If anything, I'd say maybe have half health as a threshold or something. Or maybe 10% damage or some. It doesn't seem like it does enough, is my perspective on it.
Right.
And that's why, again, numbers, I'm happy that they can be tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fine what it is. I like the fact that it has synergy with itself. Cleansing Ire, exactly the same. Perfect.
See, now this is interesting, dude. And again, this is what I was kind of talking about. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize.
Go for it.
And this is a good thing. This is actually what we want, and not the interruption. It's the choice. Like Cleansing Ire, I can still see being the staple, but you're going to be giving up balance stance for it. That's something you have to make a choice, and that's how it should be with all traits in every single line. You need to make a choice. Like, holy shit, yes, I want this one, but holy fuck, I'm going to lose this one. You know, there needs to be some competition.
Yeah. That I agree with you 100% on that.
It needs to be on every single tree. There needs to be some sort of like, you know, you have to think for a second. Like, do I really want to give this up for that? You know, this seems like one of those situations where it's like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, I actually agree with you 100% with like that. I do like that about Cleansing Ire staying where it is because, again, like you just said, you have to make a choice, and I like that. If you want to take Cleansing Ire, you have to give up Last Stand and Call of the Weak. Or if you want to take Last Stand, you have to give up Cleansing Ire or Call of the Weak. Mainly Cleansing Ire. So I like that. I agree with you 100%. I like the fact that it forces choice between some of the traits that are right now often taken, like they can both be taken. I like that. It forces people to either be lazy but lose out on the condition clears, or take the condition clears and have to play well and play actively. Right. Call of the Weak, as I feel, is lazy, or not lazy, but not lazy. Weak. Weak is the word I'm looking for.
Weak.
And
it's weakness. It's weak.
It's weakness.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Grandmaster. Grandmaster is largely unchanged overall, but starting from the top, Sunray Mace. This was actually an adept. This is merging all of our mace traits. It was an adept, and then I think there's also a master, and those two got merged into a Grandmaster. Or actually, yeah, they got merged. And there's some other functionality in it. But basically, all your mace skills do more damage to disabled foes, and now they'll also apply vulnerability, and you got the mace recharge in there. I'm fine with it being Grandmaster. It makes sense. The disabled foes, this is going to be on any foe with disable from any source, as far as I understand it. So that's good PvE support. That's good PvP support. If you're running a mace, boom, you're applying vulnerability all over the place, and you're getting that extra damage. It's really nice. It helps add a bit more support to what the mace is about. It takes the control aspect of it and adds a bit more to it, in addition to giving you what the other stuff was. Honestly, even without the vulnerability, I could still see it being Grandmaster. You'd have to sell it a bit better, but the vulnerability is nice on there. It's nice to have as that extra little benefit of hitting the CC'd opponent and it being a Grandmaster.
Right.
Defy Pain is exactly the same. I've never really cared for it because it's lazy. It's not enticing to me, but hey, it's a good trait. It does what it needs to do. It's fine as is, yada yada. Rousing Resilience. This, if everything were to ship as it is right now, Rousing Resilience is pretty much the one I would default to because I don't like Defy Pain and I don't use a mace. That's
a lot of toughness. Holy shit.
It is. However, I've talked at length about why I've never been a fan of Rousing Resilience and why it's not as OP as a lot of people may think at first glance. It's only when you break a stun that you gain that 1,000 toughness. This was actually buffed from 4 seconds because it was really not that great before. That means that unless, like, I've talked at length, but basically breaking a stun for us means you're basically not going to get the benefit of this trait half the time, and the other half you're not going to be stunned again for a while. So, and 1,000 toughness isn't anywhere near what protection gives, so it's not really that much. I'm actually happy that they added the heal to it as well, because it further rewards you for breaking a stun smartly. It adds more reason to take it. Overall, I'm fine with it. I'm fine. It's to me, having that heal in there gives it more reason to be a Grandmaster. Right now, it's that straddling that line between Master and Grandmaster, but I'm fine with it there. I'm fine with them adding the heal. It's not as OP as people may think at first glance, and I'm happy with it. It's fine. With the Grandmaster line overall, I'm still happy with it because it gives people a choice based on their build or what they want to do. If they want to be lazy, they can take Defy Pain. If they are using a mace and they want to do damage, they can take Sundering Mace. That actually applies to offhand mace as well. So if you're running,
does it?
Yeah. So like if you're running the current meta PvE warrior build that uses axe, mace, and greatsword, boom, more DPS. You've got it right there. And you're applying more vuln, which is what that build is all about half the time. And then you also got Rousing Resilience if you are like me and you don't want to run either. Alright. Tactics. This is where we still have reviving traits as our minors. And I'm not happy. I'm really not happy about it. I've never been happy about it.
No one is. It's terrible.
At least, they've changed the third minor, and I'm really happy with that. I'm really happy with the fact that they changed out a revive trait and what that new trait is. Inspiring Presence. When you just having this, when you're around, you get increased boon duration and outgoing healing. I like it. It fits with what the line is all about, which is support and healing. I like it. It's just nice. I like it. It'll help things like our PvE might stacking build. It synergizes perfectly with one of our Grandmasters. Alright, Adepts. Leg Specialist, exactly the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yep.
Quick Breathing. This is actually moved from a Master down to a Master down to an Adept.
I was very surprised to see that.
Honestly,
Quick Breathing. Oh, dude.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I can understand it. Like, it's one boon conversion per Warhorn skill and the reduced cooldown. We only have 2 Warhorn skills, and with this trait, one is on 12 seconds and one's on 16 seconds for cooldowns. So, I mean, it's fine in either spot as far as I'm concerned. You can run it. You can have it as a Master, like it is now, and it makes sense. You can have it as an Adept, and it makes sense. This actually adds... I like this move because it actually adds a bit more synergy with some of the other stuff later in the tree, or the line, which it allows you to run more options revolving support, like a Warhorn and, say, shouts, or stuff like that. I like it. I like that move. Honestly, I would have been fine if they kept it in Master 2, but anyway. Empowered, exactly the same. Yeah.
Actually, no, didn't they change that?
It used to be, I think, 3% per boon, and then they nerfed it.
Well, no, it's 3% per boon on your target.
No. You're thinking of a discipline trait. You're thinking of a destruction empowered. This is
yes.
Yeah,
oh,
increases
wow. Yeah,
your damage for every boon on you.
100% correct. My bad.
Yep. Don't worry. We'll get to destruction empowered. That's next. But yeah, that empowered, exactly the same. Shake it off, or shrug it off, I should say. This is exactly the same, but consider now you have quick breathing So you can take both these. You can take both these traits now without shorting yourself like you would have to right now, or running some. Yeah, basically, if you would try to do quick breathing and shake it off right now, you would have to gimp yourself and not be able to take a Grandmaster. And being able to do this, you can now do that. You can run quick breathing and shrug it off, and it's cool.
It seems like a little bit of an issue because it seems like it's still promoting Xiaopo even more.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I'll address this elephant in the room. Yes, Xiaopo gets a lot of benefits from these changes. Xiaopo gets an incredible amount of benefits from these changes. Hopefully, they look at Xiaopo and what makes it strong, and they reduce it because yeah, Xiaopo gets ridiculously more powerful with these changes.
I was surprised. I'm like, that's like the one thing that I think a lot of warriors were like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't jump on the oh my god Xiaopo P thing because of, numbers can be changed and there's probably a lot of other changes coming. I think they've said they're looking at nerfing Celestial Amulet or something. Don't quote me on that, but I've been hearing people saying
Well,
that.
they are. I'm just saying in general, the trait itself is just I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. No, it is what it is, but I mean, hopefully the numbers get tweaked.
To me, it's a lazy trait, but it's also it makes sense. It's not as lazy as I don't know, whatever. Anyway, burning arrows. Okay, burning arrows right now. This was one that kind of like I got all face scrunchy on the stream, and like I as I thought about it, the more I got kind of like I just couldn't. It was weird. Basically, okay, right now we have two longbow traits. It's not really a merge because they're just cutting our other one. Right now we have an adept in tactics called Strengthened Bowstrings, which just increases the range of all of our longbow skills, and I think makes one of our skills a guaranteed projectile finisher. The thing is, it's also bugged where it reduces the damage of skills, and it's just in general no one takes it. Burning arrows right now, it's in the same spot. It still reduces longbow cooldowns. But right now, you do, I think, 20% extra damage or 10% extra damage to burning targets.
Ah.
This...
A little bit of a change.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mechanic change. Now what it is it's still got the recharge, but it adds burning to our auto attack, which it's two stacks or 2 seconds or whatever they're doing with conditions with burning. It's 2 of it on our auto attack. So... it's fine, it being there. I maybe would buff something. It seems kind of weak, but at the same time, it makes sense.
It is a burning arrow.
It is a burning arrow. Like, I guess I don't really have a problem with it being there. It's kind of like the Call of the Week. I'd probably do something to it.
Right.
In its current iteration.
It needs a little bit of an adjustment.
It needs a little bit of a boost, but again, numbers, so anything could change. And also, I'd be happy if they added some sort of mechanic to it, because right now it kind of doesn't really do anything interesting, other than reduce your cooldowns.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the burning's cool, but... And then Empower Allies, exact same thing. It's the Warrior Spotter. Whatever. Grandmaster. Okay. Grandmaster, we got...
Holy shit.
Okay. Grandmaster, I got really excited with the first one of these. When you activate a leap combo finisher, when you leap through a field, it activates twice. That is cool. Like, I don't care how powerful or weak that's
awesome.
That's just cool.
No, it's really cool. Actually, I like the concept of that. I'm just
yeah.
Yeah,
like I don't even care if it's impractical or really amazing. It's just cool. And that means
here's how it's gonna work. You get like double fire aura. You're gonna get like how's
that
gonna work?
Double fire aura, double duration. Double
duration, right?
Double duration on pretty much everything. So double duration dazes through a lightning field. Double duration fire and frost fields. Double duration regen. I think when you leap through a water field.
That might be it. Double heal. Yeah.
Yeah. Double everything. It's cool. It's just cool, and I could see this being really nice for certain flavors of frontlining warrior builds for like big Zergs in Rogue World. Like that's what immediately popped in my head when I saw this trait. It was just, hey, frontline warriors who do a lot of leaping.
That actually looks really neat, honestly. I didn't think it was gonna be too strong. I'm just like, damn, really? That's pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it's just cool. And then Vigor Shouts, that's merging all of our shout traits. And Shout Bow, hopefully something will be addressed. But yeah, it's just all of our shout traits merged into one, which is cool because now we don't have to take a bunch of extra traits throughout the entirety of tactics and in discipline just to get our shouts up to their maximum potential.
Right.
And also this will actually make it so you don't have to run all of your shouts to make this worth taking. Since you're only taking one, you can run, say, a shout and something else, or whatever. Then, well, I guess that depends on how much it heals. I guess that's, well, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff involved with that. I won't get into it.
Of course.
But it's I'm fine with it. It's merging the traits into something really nice for a specific build. Failing strength, exactly the same. This is why I'm happy that the Forceful Greatsword is getting moved into strength, because that's a bunch of damage boosts on top of this.
Everywhere, dude.
And it's amazing. Like, failing strength as it is amazing. But now, yeah, I'm fine with it being where it is. And finally, discipline. Yet another case of two of our minors not changing. And actually, technically, all three aren't really changing.
Yeah, not by much, did they? Doesn't look like it.
Versatile Rage, same. Fast Hand, same. Versatile Power, numbers-wise, like, I'm ignoring the fact that it does 2 Static Smite instead of 1, like it does now, because numbers. The recharge rate thing, that's just because of what they're doing with the specializations. Effectively, Versatile Power is the exact same thing. So, woo. I mean, it's a good minor.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say on it, because it's what it is now. Okay, Crack Shot. This was actually moved from arms, as an adept in arms, down to an adept in discipline. I like this because it opens up a bit more, it takes a lot of why certain builds went 4 lines and gets rid of that reason. And also, Crack Shot didn't really make much sense in arms after they removed the bleed on the auto attack.
Right.
So now it's in discipline, which makes sense. I'm fine with it. And also, John was actually talking about how discipline is kind of more aimed towards finishing with some of the changes they've done. Like, it's more of a theme is finishing. So I'm fine with it down there, because reduction in rifle, you're finishing people from long range. Warrior Sprint, I really like this. It's a simple change, but I really like it. Okay.
It's a nice change.
It's a nice change. What they've done is they've taken Mobile Strikes, which was currently a master that just removes Immobilize on mobility skills, which is powerful, especially in PvP, and it merges it with Warrior Sprint, which a lot of people take right now just because it's a nice quality of life thing. That's amazing. And as an adept, that's like, ooh, that's like really good.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, I see a lot of warriors taking this, but at the same time, I can see rifle warriors taking Crack Shot. So I mean, it's not so good that everyone's going to take it. A lot of builds will take it, because a lot of builds run melee warrior or melee weapon. But I can see a lot of people taking Crack Shot instead, and not caring about Warrior Sprint because it doesn't apply to ranged weapons. Which, they're running a rifle, they're not going to be... It's not a melee weapon. So, I like that. And then here's the Vengeance trait I was talking about. It's an adept. It's gimmicky downstate builds, yada yada. It's at least it's an adept. I'm fine with it. This is a merge of all of our vengeful traits, which is nice, because otherwise we would have to go 4 into both defense and discipline. We'd have to drop 8 points on getting all of our vengeance stuff.
Right, exactly.
But actually, I think we'd have to spend 8 points, and we would have to select 3 majors to get all of those. It's disgusting right now. I'm really happy they're merging these. Mm-hmm. Okay, Master of Discipline. I'm actually really happy with where they moved Inspiring Battle Standard. Right now, this is a Grandmaster in Tactics, which means it competes with Vigorous Shouts. This means, if you want to run a Support Warrior, you can run both banners and shouts. And
God help us all.
Get all of the benefits of both of those.
I hate you so much.
Well, think about it. Shout Bow, yes, you get the banner, but you won't have one of the shouts. If they decide to do that. But this is more of a PvE thing. This is nice. So? Yeah, okay, like for example, I have a build that I run in Fractals that's great, so Longbow. It runs 2 banners and a shout. I like this, because I can support with the shout and the banners beyond just their abilities. I mean, obviously I may not do that for other reasons in PvE, but anyway, it's still nice. That gives you that option. For people who want to run a support warrior, can get even more support through different options. The banners themselves give good support. This would be really nice with, say, Banner Tactics. Like, it's just nice. I like where they moved it. And it's worthy of being it's worthy of being a master, because it doesn't really do much outside of that regen. Now there is one. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, well, one thing okay, we have a bunch of other banner traits. And I have a feeling those have all been rolled in baseline. We have right now in strength, we have a trait called Powerful Banners, where when you drop a banner, it does damage. We have a trait in tactics right now that basically reduces the cooldown of all banners and increases their radius. I have a feeling those two traits are going to be rolled in baseline with banners. Because
it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
honestly, at this point, since they're not even here.
Yeah, because the cooldown and radius one is rather boring, but it's kind of necessary if you're running banners at all. And the Powerful Banners one doesn't get used because it competes with Restorative Strength, which it doesn't really compete with. It competes with Great Fortitude right now, and then a bunch of other really not useful dual wielding, but whatever. It's basically not used. And so I could see it being rolled in baseline alongside the cooldown and increased area of effect.
It would only make more sense, honestly.
Yeah, it would make too much sense even. So that's my guess. I don't know, but that's my guess. Here's Destruction of New Power, the one you were thinking about before. Hasn't changed, hasn't moved. The third, this got me really excited. Brawler's Recovery. Okay, this is our newest Grandmaster down in Discipline right now. It does exactly what it does there, but it's a Grandmaster right now, which competes with Burst Mastery. They're moving into a Master, so it doesn't anymore, and it's a really nice trait. It's a really nice trait. I personally am probably going to take this one, or Destruction of the Empowered for most of my builds. But it still competes. It still competes with them, but it's just a nice trait, and it's been made more accessible, I guess, compared to what it was originally competing with. So I'm happy with it. It's
absolutely
like a Grandmaster to a Master is already already a nice thing. But all right, Grandmaster for Discipline, the last set. Okay, here's where Merciless Hammer from defense moved, and I am stoked about this because it means you will no longer be able to double dip with Merc Hammer and Burst Mastery, which is what a ton of Hammer warriors do right now. A lot of warriors go 00626 and they just double dip in tanky and get a bunch of extra damage from Burst Mastery and defense or Discipline, whatnot. I like this because it forces you to make a choice. It also takes Merc Hammer, which didn't really seem to make much sense. It was a heavy damage trait in a defense line, in a tank line. It moves it into a line that's more thematically appropriate. It moves it into a situation where it's competing with something of equal value. Because right now it's you can take this and Cleansing Iron. It's Hambo and whatnot. I mean, you can still do that with the new trait setup, but you have to make a little more choice. And it competes with our other really good Grandmaster in Discipline, which is Burst Mastery. So, I mean, I like it. I like the fact that it's been moved and put here. It's in a line that makes sense, and it forces choice. I like it. I mean,
choice is what we want, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, you need to make a choice and say, okay, look, this is a good choice, but so is that. Do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And the numbers they don't even have to change because it's a Grandmaster now. Because right now Merc Hammer is a Master. And I think as it is right now, I think it's a little too good for a Master. But again, most warriors who take Merc Hammer put it in the Grandmaster slot, so it's effectively the same thing. But anyway, so that's that. Burst Mastery and Merc Hammer are both exactly the same as they are now. And I'm just happy with the fact that Merc Hammer moved. And then finally, Heightened Focus. Okay. Heightened Focus, the name, like the trait that this is named after, is actually gone. It's just gone. What it does right now is with however many bars of adrenaline you have, you gain more and more crit chance. You gain 5%, 10%, 15% crit chance for your adrenaline. And I've hated this one just like I hate Berserker's Power because it encourages you to not use your skills, not use your burst skills. I don't like it. Right now, not a lot of people take it anyway because of Burst Mastery and Brawler's Recovery, but even still, I've never liked Heightened Focus as it exists right now.
Right.
The other aspect, the actual effects that were previewed here, is actually a Grandmaster from ARMS moved down and combined with it. Or I should say this is just the Grandmaster from ARMS moved down and renamed. This is giving us quickness for targets that are under half health. It's exactly the same functionality, and I think it has a reduced internal cooldown, but numbers, whatever.
Right.
And this is where John kind of mentioned the whole finishing aspect. Because, that's what Last Chance is currently. It's right. A finishing thing. I'm fine with it still being a Grandmaster. With how quickness becoming a boon is going to work, I could see boon duration changing some of the stuff, but I mean, quickness on a hammer is nuts. Quickness
Yeah,
on
I
a
know.
quickness
It's
on a
awesome.
hammer hurts.
It's
So
awesome.
I'm fine with it where it is. If they keep it having a reduced internal cooldown, I'll be even happier because it'll make it more worth having. It'll make it compete with the other two more. Um, but it is bound by threshold. I don't like that one. That would be a test thing. That would be. It's hard to really gauge how useful quickness is versus a flat damage increase because it's more in the moment time based than it is flat damage. I mean, you can theory craft the numbers all you want, but it's very you can't really quantify it. It's really hard to quantify. So I don't know. I'm happy with what they're doing. I'm glad the original heightened focus is gone because it's boring and it promotes passive play, and I've hated that. And I think it still competes with the other ones. And if it retains a lower internal cooldown than Last Chance currently does, that'll be perfectly fine. So
Honestly, again, it's hopefully that they look at the numbers and they actually make all these competitive with each other, so that you actually want to make a choice and actually don't go, oh, okay, I'm just going to go into this line and I already know what I'm going to get because the other two are just not up to par.
yeah, yeah. And for anyone listening who's not sure how this new system works, basically you'll get 3 of your trait lines that you can slot, and you'll be able to go full down those lines. You won't have to go. You won't. It's not like you'll be limited in trait points anymore. If you slot a trait line, one of these 3 trait lines, you will get everything. You'll get access to all options in that line, and you will not have to limit yourself. You'll be able to go full Grandmaster in every single one you choose. The drawback is you do not have access to the last 2 you do not choose. But with how they've rebalanced things, I honestly don't see that being a problem because everything has a very nice, clean, defined, at least for Warrior anyway, it has a very nice, clean, defined role. It's very, you have a build, at least for Warrior, you have a build, okay, what enhances this build? What choices do I want to take in that specialization, in that line, that benefit how my build works? It's not like with Guardian for you guys where it's kind of like, everyone's gonna take this option over this one, but you're not gonna like losing out on those trait like before when they announced this change to the specializations or the trait system through specializations. I was skeptical. Like it's like okay, it's cool, but how are you gonna balance this against the fact that you're losing access to the freedom of those 2 other trait lines? And I think with Warrior, they've done a good job of that. They've done a good job of merging traits, of moving traits, of putting things where they should be to not make that an issue.
Of
So
course.
overall, I'm really happy with the Warrior changes. And what do you think, Arkin? What's your
No,
final
it's
impression?
it's good. Well, one of the issues that I'm hoping that they address, and this is something that's been bugging me since release, is that you know how again multiple classes have shouts, multiple classes have signets. Now all of these signets and shouts, they're not created equal by any means whatsoever. They're so vastly different that I'm still trying to figure out why, for instance, say these 20% reduction in cooldowns exist against with all classes because these shouts and signets are not equal by any standard. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping eventually they look into something like that because that's been bothering me for a little while. Yeah. Overall, really good changes overall, especially I like it on the Warrior. It looks like some really crazy changes. It seems like that they fleshed out the Warrior more so than the other ones as of now, from what I can tell, which is fine. Again, I'm just hoping that every single profession gets really good treatment and they look at it, and then obviously they do the numbers because the last thing I also don't want is just for more crazy freaking traits that are just a little too good across all party lines or across all professional lines. So really good changes, most of them. Some of them still need to be looked at, but yeah, man, absolutely. I'm happy to see something change.
Yeah, and jumping over kind of my perspective on Guardian, it does really seem like they took the Warrior first and they developed that mostly, and then they started working on the other professions. And I agree with you in that Guardian needs more love. It needs more looking at and balancing of its stuff and moving stuff around because. I can understand now why a lot of people are not happy with some of the changes that were shown then and there because, yeah, there's, at least looking at the Guardian anyway, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of things that they could shore up or they could change the functionality of or they could move or stuff like that. So, yeah, now I understand why you guys aren't happy and why I am.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us are. In most cases, it's just I think, and again, like this is something that I think you can tell me exactly what what you and your professions and the people you talk to wanted, but like a lot of us, I think really wanted like a 25% movement trait because our mobility is so bad.
Lackluster.
It's lackluster. I mean, we have gap closers. Like I have a way to get to you, but sticking to you is a problem, and especially with the removal of chill on glacial hard,
Yeah.
it's going to be even more troublesome. So a lot of us were really, really hoping for a sort of movement trait or access to more mobility. I mean, honestly, I would rather have no soft CC and mobility. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
would be okay too. But just something that a lot of us really would really like, to be honest with you. But I mean, again, the last thing I need or want is for the Guardian to just be one of those classes where everybody fucking picks it because it's just too good.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Flavor of the month.
I can't stand that.
Yeah. So I think another thing we should probably reiterate is all of this stuff is in development. Like they said many times that this is all under heavy development. Anything and probably everything will change at least somewhat.
course.
Numbers are irrelevant because like all of this stuff is going to need a balance pass, all of it.
Of course.
And yeah, I have a feeling that I don't know. I think we have a pretty good hunch that the Warrior is probably the more fleshed out development wise than the others so far. So I think people who are worrying about their class in what they showed, I don't think they should be too worried because they're still iterating, and I think they're iterating a lot more on the other professions than.
And that's fine too.
more so
Absolutely.
Warrior.
Do what you got to do. Take your time with it. Tweak the numbers a little bit because again, you don't want to make things too ridiculous. Again, I'm only speaking from strictly a structured PvP point of view. I mean, I have nothing against those who play PvE or World v World. That's something else, and I understand that the things could definitely get crazy regardless of what you're playing. But just from a structured PvP point of view, again, as a primarily melee profession, not having mobility or soft CC seems a little weird. But again, it's something that we don't know. We haven't seen any of the skills that were changed across any class aside from engineer, and even then, we didn't see all of them. So yeah, dude, absolutely. I'm really hopeful to see some really good changes.
Yeah, because there were a few things in there where you were like, oh, I'm not happy with this type thing. Where yeah, I could see that from PvP, structured PvP, but I was looking at it from also like a PvE perspective, and it's like it makes a lot of sense there. There was a choice that for you wouldn't make a lot. Like it was definitely one option, but like in PvE or World of World, it was more like you had two options that weighed well and stuff like that. So
Of course.
yeah, there's always the game mode factor. There's always the fact that they're not done developing. There's a lot of your Guardian traits. It'd be cool to see some more like mechanics added to them. Like the Warrior traits, there's a lot of stuff that there's cool mechanics.
That double
like,
leap is freaking cool, dude.
Oh,
I gotta
yeah.
tell you, man.
Yeah,
I'm
double
freaking stoked
leap.
to see that shit.
double leap Grandmaster Protect. That's just cool. Like I don't care how weak or powerful that is. It's just a cool idea.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess final thoughts for me. I like Warrior. I really like Warrior. There's a couple things that could probably be shored up a little bit. A couple things that could be changed. Happy with it overall. Happy with the system change. I'm no longer skeptical on whether or not they can balance it against the fact that you don't have access to the other two lines. And overall, just happy and excited to see what they. Oh, I should mention. I want to see what they're doing with the base skills. I really want to see what they're doing with the base skills, especially offhand axe. I want to see how that ties into this. What do you think?
Absolutely.
What are your final thoughts on it?
Honestly, a lot of just regular skills need to be looked at, whether it be utilities and weapon skills. Again, like I said, your offhand axe, guardian shield. Again, no one uses them because they just suck. It's for lack of better words. A lack of better words. Excuse me. They just suck. So and I'm sure there are plenty of skills like that across all professional lines that need to be looked at. So I'm really, really hoping that they look at them and say, hey, look. Either this thing is too good or this thing needs to be upped up a little bit. You know what I mean? So definitely, I really hope they look at pretty much every single skill.
All right. Well, we've been going on for over 2 hours.
It's been hasn't it?
Yep. So much for that 1 hour podcast. But
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Absolutely.
It was cool being able to jump back with you and discuss this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, you're gonna be available around this time next week, right?
I'm checking my schedule right now. Let me see. I'm actually working Saturday, so would it be
okay.
possible to do it on either Friday or Sunday?
Yeah, we could probably do it. Well, what time is available to you on Sundays?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, we could probably do it. Yeah, we could probably do it at sometime on Sunday.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what we did before?
Yeah, I mean, if unfortunately, like I can make most Saturdays, but just there's always that Saturday like, oh, I got to work because again, I'm on that 1 day on, 3 day off schedule, or I'm sorry, 2 days off schedule. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm working Sunday, and then I have to work. I'm working Wednesday, and then I'm working Saturday because I get, that's just how it works. So yeah, man, Sunday would be perfect for sure.
All right, fair enough. Well, what? Okay, so we were talking about how we were going to do like 2 of these per
Yeah, man.
podcast. What do you think our next 2 should be? We got Warr and
Do you-
Guardian done.
Well, do you have anybody in mind who we can get?
Well, I have someone who is actually not happy with necro changes overall. I could grab
Really?
him.
Let's do that.
All
That
right.
sounds fun.
So you think 2, or should we do 1 per episode because this was 2 hours.
That was
and
long.
2. So what do you think? Do like 1 per episode maybe?
Yeah, let's do 1. Okay, so we'll do Necromancer next week.
Yeah, let's do Necromancer next week, and I have the perfect person in mind for it. So
Is he angry?
he's sad. I'd say.
Is he really?
He's sad and angry. I would
I thought
say.
Necro's got some pretty good change. I mean, I don't want to go into it, but it felt like they got some pretty good changes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked at him yet, so that was actually the one that I think I was. Oh no, I wasn't able to listen to the stream when those ones were on, so I'm not familiar with all of them. I'll have to go back and watch the VOD. But anyway, yeah, well, I have the perfect person in mind for the next one, so I'll talk to him, and I have a few other candidates if he doesn't work out. But so yeah, let's do Necro next one, and then we can figure him out as we go. Yeah, I'd say that's the end of this one. This was the return of the Shin-Arken podcast with myself,
Absolutely.
Shin, and Arken here. And yeah, so that'll be it. Thanks everyone who's been listening on the live stream. This will be put up on YouTube in the same spot on my channel, so keep an eye out there. This one's actually probably going to be split because it's, well, over 2 hours. But yeah, it's cool that we have stuff to talk about now. Like, that was the problem. That's why we had on hiatus before, so we didn't have stuff to talk about. And now we do. So, anyway, that's going to be it. Thanks everyone for listening. And that is it. We are signing out. This has been Shin, and... You there? Where'd you go?
I'm saying that was pretty amazing, dude. Awesome.
We're not off yet.
Oh shit. Okay.
That was the sign off, like I was saying.
Oh shit. Yeah. Awesome. Good times.
This has been Arken with me. So that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. And despite all of the rocky startup and awkward ending, this was still a good one. So thanks for
Absolutely,
ringing.
man.
Yeah, we are out. Take care.
See ya.